sit down with me and don't leave too soon. Thank you for stopping in. Thanks for saying hi. Together we can make a difference if we try. Together we can make a difference if we try. Hello there, my lovely friends. Good afternoon. Come and sit down with me and don't leave too soon. Thank you for stopping in. Thanks for saying hi. Together we can make a difference if we try.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to a really impactful episode of the show. I'm really happy to welcome on a guest that has agreed to come on and talk more about the beautiful London Valdez and her case. So please welcome her mother, Brittany, as well as Rochelle. Hi, Brittany. Hi, Rochelle.
Hello.
So thank you for joining me, first of all. Brittany, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I've been a little sick, so if I sound kind of a little funny, that's why, but just hanging in there.
Yeah, so there have been some changes, right?
Yeah. Some new things.
New things coming down, and we're going to talk about those today and the direction that the case is going or not going. I've had some things going on too. I went to CrimeCon last weekend in Denver, which is like the national place for people who follow true crime to go. And I actually felt a little guilty about it because I'm like, I should be sitting at my desk in my office working on London 24/7, and here I am going off and flying to Denver. But it actually was the best thing to happen. It was. I got to meet Vinny Politan, and I got to tell him about London, and he actually mentioned me yesterday on his CrimeCon recap. It was so awesome, and he mentioned he didn't mention London by name, but he mentioned the case.
That's awesome.
So that was really cool.
We feel the same way. We feel like we're 24/7, like just don't, even on our sleep, we feel like we're just constantly detective mode, just trying to put things together. So we feel the same way sometimes when we're like, we feel guilty. We're like, should we be doing this when we have things to figure out? Like, but lately I've been trying to take more time to kind of mourn a little bit and look at our pictures and sit in the positive moments and remember. So and process things.
That's so sweet. So I am going to play Vinny's little bit that he did on his live stream yesterday, and I'm going to try and keep it short so I don't get a copyright strike by Vinny. Vinny, don't copyright strike me for this, please. Let me share that real quick. We have it in the same browser window as StreamYard, so that's not going to work. Here we go. I need to turn the volume up on it too. Just real quick, just kind of like everybody that I talked to at CrimeCon, I was talking about London. And some people with huge channels, some people not with huge channels, everybody that would give me an ear for 5 minutes, I was talking about it. And to a T, every single person said, what is going on there? What is going on with that? Like, to a T. And you'll hear Vinny say it here in this too. He says something stinks in Denmark, which is like a Shakespeare quote. But
kind of like we told OSBI the other day, Brittany was like, I know some really stupid people in the world, and even they are like, what in the heck is happening?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't take common sense to think something strange is going on.
Right.
So here is Vinny's CrimeCon update. The Tangent is his true crime podcast. The guy in the middle is Al. The guy on the bottom end is Jonesy. I actually got to talk with Jonesy for a while too, along with Vinny. He's a cool dude. But if you hang in there for a second, you'll see him talking about the case in Oklahoma.
That I thought was gone. And I just was really impressed with all of them. They were like such a wonderful crew.
Here's our friend Joe Schmo, who we met out there, who knows, I think he knows that we three are Mets fans who are absolutely suffering.
He followed us around with a Braves shirt all the time.
He had a different Braves jersey, and he got on, I think he was on the TV show when he's live. If you look at some of the photos, he's always got the Braves shirt on. Thanks so much, Joe. Joe, awesome guy. Check out his podcast, the Joe Schmo podcast. He was telling me about a story that he's covering that we've got to put more light on and give a little more oxygen to. It's a tragic story, but it's a story that needs much more attention because there may be something rotten in Denmark happening. It's not from Denmark. I think it's from Oklahoma, but there may be something horrible happening. And Joe Schmo says, I'll take a Braves jersey over Vinny's shoulder for 1,000, Alex. Yeah.
So anyway, that was it. We got some attention and some love from Vinny Politano.
That's
awesome. That works.
That is awesome. I mean,
Thank you.
Even got the eyes on Oklahoma, and shoot, there's a lot of cases in Oklahoma right now that need eyes. But yeah, I'm thankful for him to say that for sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the famous case that made national news last year was the Kansas moms that were murdered in the Panhandle. And it's funny, the same special agent Ryan Beck was the one that investigated that, or the back end of that case that's also investigating this. Coincidentally.
I've actually gotten to know Amanda, Veronica's mom, and she's really sweet. She reached out to me and just it's been really nice to have somebody that can understand what it feels like to lose your daughter, and kind of question some of the things that are going on in the counties. And so it's been really nice. She's a really great lady. I like her a lot.
Yeah, and that's something that I've found at CrimeCon is the network of support for people that are survivors is a really strong, powerful network to have, and those connections are really powerful. And you see those like in the Lori Daybell case. So Ray Hermosillo was the Rexburg detective that investigated and actually found the bodies of JJ and Tylee in Chad's backyard. And Colby Ryan is JJ and Tylee's brother. And those two have formed a bond that is really cool to see and is really powerful. So victims sticking together and forming a network is a powerful thing. So that's amazing that you were able to make that connection.
Yeah, she's great.
So a couple of other things we've had going on. So Thursday, we had the Emmy report come down.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't send it to you, right?
I had to get it from you.
That's incredible to me that they're not sending that to the family first. And Special Agent Beck was a little surprised that you had it, right?
Mm-hmm. And I'm very thankful I have someone like you that made sure I knew that you had it before I had to find out from the social media. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. That's always the first thing on my mind, is getting the stuff to you that you need. So we're going to look at that, but we're only going to look at a couple of pages of that, because we don't need to get into all the details, and we don't need all of those details going out on social media, right?
Thank you. Right.
I'm sure other media will do that.
Yeah.
And I can't stop that. I
Yeah, I
can just
know.
control what we do. And then on Friday, so you got a hold of that report, and you saw that the result was the same. The probable cause of death was meth overdose, methamphetamine toxicity, compounded by hyperthermia. So you wrote a letter to the DA, Buddy Leach. You wrote an email to Buddy Leach, and he wrote back to you.
Yeah.
And what he wrote back to you is, I still cannot believe what he wrote back to you.
Yeah. It was pretty shocking. It was not the direction I thought. It was not the response I thought I was going to get at all.
No. So I've got those pulled up. I need to find the ME report. Okay. There's the ME report. So we're just going to look at the first 3 pages of this, and there are some difficult things in here, but the really difficult stuff is after the first 3 pages. So if you want me to stop sharing it at any time, you just let me know, and click, boom, it's gone. Okay.
Okay.
You're in control. So the first page is actually, I think, a copy of the summary report that we got a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I thought so too, and I saw it.
PDF. Here we go. Acrobat, and add to stage. It doesn't say summary report, so it has been changed slightly, but everything else pretty much says the same thing as the report we got a couple of weeks ago. Found on June 12th outside of Forgan by a fence line. External observations, and then liver observation. So we probably should talk about that a little bit, because she was out there for so long that they couldn't take blood samples for her tox report, right?
Correct. Yeah. So they had to. So she said normally they take a femoral blood, but since there was nothing to take of that, because Lennon was in pretty bad shape, they had to use the liver. That's the next organ that she says they use, even though we've looked it up, and it sounds like they use liver primarily in a lot of other cases. So, but that's just what she had told me.
Okay. So can that affect like any of the charges? Like if some adult is found to have contributed to her demise by providing her with drugs, does that sampling of the liver change any from a blood sample, or is it all the same? Do you know?
Well, there are different ranges that they use for blood samples versus liver samples. But even through all the research that I've done and Brittany's done, the normal, I will say normal, but there's nothing normal about an overdose. But the normal range of methamphetamine toxicity that results in death is 1 to 5 micrograms per gram in the liver. That's right. A liver result. I did not research blood because it was pointless. We don't have a blood number to go off of for London, but 1 to 5 in the liver is what most overdoses come back as, and London's was 14.
Right, here we go. This is the first page of the autopsy report, and there we go. 1A, methamphetamine level 14 micrograms per gram in the liver. So
I don't think it would change anything. I think that the levels made it acute, like it was considered acute meth toxicity. But I still think that, too much. Fatal amounts of meth is fatal amounts of meth, whether it was no matter how high. So I feel like it should still be the same charges. I mean, if not worse.
Well, a lot of the research that we found, because it does say that a lot of medical examiners prefer liver results over blood, even if they do have blood, to do these kind of testings because they're more accurate.
Okay, and what did you say this the standard levels of meth were for overdoses?
1 to 5 micrograms per gram is
So
what
this
is
is like
typically found in a death caused by methamphetamine.
this is like 3 to 10 times that.
Yeah,
That's high.
it's very high. Yeah,
And acute, when you look up acute, the definition of that is a large amount in a short amount of time.
And, and also we, through my research and even questioning, people that have medical background, there's no humanly possible way that a person, especially not somebody who's never smoked methamphetamines, to have smoked the amount that it would have taken to put her levels that high. Plus the ME report, as you'll see, there's no signs of damage or scarring or chemical burns to her esophagus, mouth, throat, or lungs reported. So also it goes into detail and says there's also no track marks found.
Yeah.
So the only plausible way or logical way is to have ingested it. And, even if we were playing the devil's advocate and saying London was willingly participating and taking this on her first time ever, I personally never heard of anybody saying, I think I'll swallow it my first time.
Yeah.
And not that amount anyways. So.
And she would have had to, either way, if she did smoke it, they had to, she had to have had a large amount to even smoke. Mm-hmm. If it was to cause that high of levels. She, for not being a meth smoker, she had to sit there and continuously smoke.
It said for hours and hours and hours straight without stopping. And the body would shut down before she was able to get to that, which is why the normal range of overdose is 1 to 5, because they die before they can get any higher than that.
Right. And I have, like I told you guys on the phone, I think yesterday when we had our conversation, I have a friend that is a medical examiner in New York that went back through 24 years of records and did not see one single meth overdose in 24 years in New York, in one of the boroughs.
It's really, really rare to actually overdose from meth if you're smoking it, because you pass out first. So the people that do end up overdosing is because they've swallowed it or, become a mule of some sort.
So, I don't remember seeing any stomach contents published in this report. Do you guys remember seeing any stomach contents, like if there was a plastic bag in her stomach or something like that?
No, but I think the only thing that was left that hadn't been I don't even know how to say it. I don't like using these words because
right. I understand.
They're hard, but the only thing that was left really was her liver.
A lot of her organs weren't intact, or they were much smaller, or they can, she says in some of the details here that she could tell based on what was there of a certain organ that it was a healthy organ at one point. You know what I mean? It was the right size for the amount of days that it, that had bypassed. So she could tell that it wasn't she didn't have any conditions or anything that would have caused her heart to be enlarged or whatever, those things. So, but a lot of them weren't the right size. Obviously, it even mentions at one point that her weight at death was significantly less due to the decomp. So
I'm gonna grab a tissue real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
So Squeegee had a question here. So at one time she was a cutter, right? She cut herself
3 years ago.
Yeah.
If not longer, it might have even been 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you see remote,
that's something that's gotten brought up quite a few times, because they were bad, but we've worked with London since that time, they're old, but they're noticeable, but we've moved past that part. We've gotten counseling for that and stuff like that. So they are there, but they are old and they were acknowledged.
And you and your mom were working with her to try and get her to a better place, right?
Yeah.
Which is why she was in Hooker in the first place.
Yeah, that was I know that's something that's that a lot of people had questions about, and like really it was an act of a mother not really knowing where to turn. There's no places in Oklahoma for teens that are struggling with substances, but London, and this is really hard to be vulnerable with my life, but I want to make a change and I want to help London, and so I want to be transparent about everything. So, but London was a drinker. London liked alcohol, and that's what we struggled with was alcohol. And so, and it all started during COVID. I was an essential worker. I'm a mental health worker, and I was an essential worker, and kids were required to stay home from school. And I would go to work, and we lived next door to some teenage boys. And so they'd be home, and eventually London started, she knew them from elementary school. So she would go over there, and what I didn't know is they would drink. They were drinking, and then she started drinking. And I didn't notice until like I started coming home, and I'd be like, "Are you drunk?" And then I started realizing like this is happening. At first I thought it was just like, a teenager thing. Never crossed my mind like this is something I should be concerned about. Like I was a teenager, I remember, until I started realizing it was like getting in the way of things like her softball or, school. School was a big issue. London had learning disabilities. So at the same time, she hated school, but that's where it all started was when I was going to work, she was at home and she was going next door and hanging out with these boys next door. And she was drinking. And so then it kind of became a problem. And then when school started back up, she was meeting these kids at school and they were bringing alcohol to school. And I was getting called to the school every single day, having to pick her up. And that's kind of when she started getting in a lot of trouble. And then she came home. I grounded her from her phone one day and because she'd been drinking. And so I grounded her from her phone. And I told her she ran out the door, I was going to call the police. And so she ran out the door. I called the police because I wanted her to know I was serious, and I didn't want her to go very far. And they brought her back. And when they brought her back, she was being kind of combative. And it's not funny, but she kicked one of the officers in the private area. So he, it's not funny, but that's why he got really upset. And he took her down to the station, and she ended up in OJA. And so that's
Oklahoma Juvenile Affairs.
Oklahoma Juvenile Affairs. And so I was talking, she had an OJA worker, and I was like, what do I do? Like, I can't stay home and watch her every day. Like, I didn't know where to turn. And so we got her into Meadow Lake, which is a mental health and behavioral center, inpatient center. But that's more for people who are struggling with their mental health, like having suicidal feelings or wanting to hurt themselves. And so that was like the closest place that we could think of, because Oklahoma, like I said, has 0 rehabs or programs for teenagers for substance abuse. And so in order for her to even get in there, we had to tell her to say she wanted to hurt herself.
And she wanted help, so she was willing to do that.
Yeah, London didn't like who she was. She didn't like this, like, at all.
Yeah.
And so, that's the thing is, like, London did not want this. Like, this is not how she wanted her life. And so, when she went to Meadow Lake, and then she was really behind in school. And so I was like, maybe, like, because she just kept, like, the kids here, it's not, Ponca City's not a great, it's not the greatest town ever. Like, I have good people here, and I don't want to sound like I'm talking bad, but it's just not really, like, it's not that great. And so I thought in my mind, I'll send her to the safest place in America, to me, Hooker. I grew up there, and my mom was, thankfully, she's a great late woman. She took her in, she loves her grandkids. And London went down there, and it was rough at first, but London started doing better. it was really rough at first, but London got to a point where she was not wanting to drink. She was
making new friends
and stuff like that. And then it all kind of went downhill again in February. So she was
What
doing it for almost a year.
What happened in February? And you don't have to talk about it, but
I'll talk about it because I mean it's the truth. But and I know that he feels really bad. But Lyndon was supposed to go to Lyndon's dad and her have had Lyndon's dad was in and out of her life a lot. I wouldn't even say a lot. He was not in her life as much as he was in, and that was something that always has bothered London. For some reason, she just had that has hurt her feelings. Like, I'm not going to say for some reason, that hurts a lot of kids, but she would cling on to every time he would promise to come see her or say he would come see her. So Johnny, London's daughter was having a quinceañera, and he invited London and said that London's dad would be there. And so he told her, you know, all the girls are wearing these dresses and these shoes. And so, I mean, we went out and bought her the dress. She was so excited. It breaks my heart. Got her a really pretty blue dress, and I bought her they were all wearing white Nike Air Force Ones, and she got there and he didn't show up.
Oh my gosh.
So that's the first night she went out and was really upset and drank in a long time. And it just, I mean, it was the worst after this incident. It was the worst I think I'd ever seen her just not care anymore for a little bit.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible. I've been to a quinceañera. I went to one in Honduras actually, and those are a huge deal. Like that's the social event of like the year. Mm-hmm. Like there's so much social pressure on them, and I imagine she was telling people my dad's going to be here.
Oh, it was heartbreaking. I have messages right before. I can't wait to see my dad. I can't wait. I'm so excited to see my dad. And then you start seeing the messages. It's going to make me cry. Mom, he's not here. I don't see him. Is my dad coming? Like, and I was like, I'm sorry. You know, like, I mean, I was so heartbroken. Like, I wish I could. I felt bad because I sent her there. Like, I was like, hey, you know, and then he didn't show up and like didn't even have a reason. Like, it's just, you know, it broke her heart. It did.
Yeah.
Imagine waiting for your dad at a dance and they never show up.
So alcohol was her drug of choice, not meth.
No,
correct.
Alcoholism runs in my family, and it's just, and it kind of, sorry, I'm not trying to take over, but it's just kind of crazy because it skipped over me and my mom. Like I rarely drink. I've never done drugs. I've never been in trouble. I've never been arrested. And so when she first drank, it never crossed my mind like, hey, this might be something I need to look out for, because it didn't affect me. I have another family member that struggles with it, and my mom's dad struggled with it, and so, but it's not something I struggled with, and I don't know why I never thought like, hey, I need to be really cautious about this. But I just really thought, you know, she was being a teenager and tried drinking, and then I realized it was a problem. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and because she was young, I forget addiction sees no age, it sees no gender, it sees no social class. They didn't care how much money you have or where you come from, you know, and it hit me. I was like, I think London has a drinking problem. And that turned my whole world upside down. I'm like, what do I do? It was hard. It was so hard. And it was hard for her. But yeah, it just.
So she was running with a bad crowd in Ponca City.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So she goes to hooker. So do you think she is also, and this is me on the outside looking in, asking a completely ignorant question, do you think she's also attracted to like the bad boy type?
Oh yeah. London definitely has like issues like just men in general. She doesn't trust them, like, but I think that a lot of that had to do with some like rebellious issues, like, you know, and I'll admit, you know, I was in a bad relationship for a long time, and he wasn't the greatest guy, so she didn't have the best role male model there either, and so she just has never really, her papo is the best man she's ever seen. You know, that was her male role model in her life, and he's a great papo. But, you know, as far as anyone else, she hasn't had a best example of what men are supposed to be like.
Papo as grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They called him Papo when he was little, and so
Okay.
And grandma was Emma because they couldn't say grandma, but now they call her grandma. But
She'll always be Emma, though.
yeah.
She can't get away from that name.
Okay, so she goes to live with your mom and Hooker to get away to a better place, hopefully. And she ends up falling in with this Jose Manjarres character. About what time do you remember him coming into her life?
February.
It was around February.
About the same time as the quinceañera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, we later discovered that he was the one that picked her up to take her to go buy the dress for her that quinceañera.
But my mom, so at the time we looked back and we were arguing with her about who is this guy? Who's this? I don't know if I know he's the one that, I don't know. I can't, if he picked, I'd say she ended up with Jose that night somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And because she ended up, but the thing is, she came home, whether it was midnight or 1 o'clock, she came home. Well, I wouldn't say always because it didn't happen all the time. So, but we didn't know who this Jose guy was at this time. And we have messages, Lenny, you better get home, you know, like, because she left that night from the dance. She was upset and she left. And
Just to go out. So did Jose take her out away from the dance? Is that possible? Likely?
I don't know if he's the one that picked her up, but I know that at some point he was there.
Okay, so fast forward to June 5th.
Okay.
She's relapsed a little bit, a lot. Do we know?
Oh, it went downhill pretty fast after February. Some adult, like, was providing her with alcohol somehow. Like, no matter what, like, and my mom's house, like, she had nailed the others were like the way, any way for her to get out or get in, it was blocked off. Like, there was no way, like, the way that they were doing it is someone was bringing it and throwing it over the fence and leaving it there for her to go out and get, or they were hiding it down the block and she would go get it. Like, it was sneaky. It wasn't ever, I heard a lot of, why was anyone just letting her run around? Why was she allowed to do this? She was not. London, had to be snuck all the way. My mom and Randy tried really hard to watch her, you know what I mean? And it's hard to babysit a 16-year-old 24/7. Like, you know, London would do things like when she left that day. She didn't tell anybody she was leaving. She left and then texted my mom, I'll be back later. My mom didn't let her walk out the door. Nobody was like, bye, London, see you later. No, she's 16. And she left and told my mom after she left that she'd be back.
Right. And that was the last time that you all as a family, or that Liz saw her.
Yeah.
Was on June 5th. Do you remember about what time of day that was when she left and said BRB?
I think it was around 11 a.m.
Okay. But she is texting with you and Liz and Paris throughout those 2 days.
And Randy, yeah.
And
She's
who?
like, I'll come home. Randy, Papo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she's texting, you know, we're London, you need to come home right now. You know, I'm coming home today. I'll be home here in a little bit. And
then it was storming at one point, and then I gotta wait for the storm because there was actually a tornado.
Yeah.
On the 6th. So She was like, after the storm passes, I'm coming home, you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But on that Friday, you know, I told them, I was like, if she's not home by tonight, like, we got to call first thing in the morning. Like, you know, we wanted to, we weren't used to London not coming home. Like, and so we kind of were like, maybe she will, like, but we did start getting concerned. And then even if she wasn't coming, I was like, regardless, we got it, whether she's talking to us or not, we got to call the cops. And my family was like, yeah, you're right. And so
she hadn't done this before.
No, not like this. No.
So the 5th goes by, the 6th goes by, and then you say by the end of the day of the 6th, okay, if she's not back, we're going to go report it to Hooker PD. Yeah. So that was Saturday morning.
Yeah, that my mom called. The last person she texted was her sister on Snap at 9 a.m.
on Saturday.
And Paris said, you need to go home. And Lyndon said, okay, I will.
On the 7th.
On the 7th, that morning at 9 a.m. And then nobody heard from her again. But here's the other thing, why we're talking about texting. The phone. London, the phone, the whole phone thing's a weird situation whenever you want to talk about that. London's phone. But I don't want to throw your story off it. If you ever want to revisit that, that's a strange situation.
Yeah.
But I'll take you on a bunch of bunny trails if you don't keep me in track right now. There's so much stuff. Like, you have to keep me in. I have ADHD, and I'll take you with me.
Yeah, I like rabbit trails too. I do.
Yeah.
So
like
reported
the whole
missing.
Alice in Wonderland.
Right. So reported missing on the 7th to Hooker PD. What does Hooker PD do?
Well, okay, so they this is where my mom would come in. But she reported it to him and everything like that, and let him kind of know what was going on. And at the time, like, we were gonna wait. I think we called her in as a runaway on Sunday. Like, but we wanted to let the police know that, hey, this was the last people she was seen with. She says she's coming home, but we haven't heard from her today. You know, London had left, said she was coming back. And so we kept in contact with the police, and, you know, they kind of knew what was going on. But on Sunday, we actually called her in as like a legit runaway. Because even, you know, the police.
Actually, it was called in as a missing person, but because of the circumstances of how she left, they documented it as a runaway.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because Oklahoma State Code actually has specific laws that deal with runaways and people who assist runaways or contribute to some type of a crime with a runaway, like maybe illicit drug use.
Yeah. Like, it is crazy. Yeah, like, I told you, I got in trouble at 16 for helping my best friend's little sister drive 3 blocks away. And, you know, the cops came. We heard you picked up so-and-so. And I was 16. I was like, no, I don't know. I never seen her. And I felt bad. And I went and told my mom. I was like, I seen her. I gave her a ride, and I was like, I need to go tell the police. I went and did the right thing, told police, and they gave me, I got in trouble. I had to go to first offender classes for aiding and abetting a runaway. But they changed it to obstructing an officer from his duties. And I'm like, I'm 16, and I gave up my friend's little sister a ride down the block.
And didn't even know she was a runaway.
Where I messed up is I didn't just tell the truth. But I got scared. I'm 16. Don't make the best choices at 16. But I did have a conscience and went and told, and I still got in trouble. So for these guys Jose's one, to not get in trouble for picking up a 16-year-old and keeping her out for 2 days would just absolutely blow my mind. Same county. It was in Hooker, so.
Yeah. And what county is that?
Texas County.
And who is the sheriff of Texas County?
Sheriff?
Matt Boley is the sheriff. Scott Hedrick is the chief of police.
And he already had his bias about London anyway.
And he used to be the county sheriff too, right? Scott Hedrick.
Of Beaver.
Of Beaver.
Of Beaver County. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're right next to each other. Texas County is Hooker. Beaver County is
It's
where
Morgan.
London was
Morgan and
found.
Beaver.
Right.
Yeah.
So Hooker, Scott Hedrick Hooker, chief of police, used to be the Beaver County sheriff, who is now Jason Johnston, who is the officer that picked
Scott
up
Mitchell,
and Scott Mitchell's Johnson's the
undersheriff,
and Mitchell's the sheriff, but Johnson's the one that picked up Braden.
I've got to change my blinds. Sorry, guys. I've got horizontal lines across my face because the sun moved. Let's try that. There we go.
Better. A little bit.
Oh, kind of.
Now you got a twinkle on your nose.
Right. No, that didn't work. Okay, so for 5 days, what type of search efforts were made for London?
None.
Even when we asked if we could do a community search.
Scott told me I wasn't allowed to. Because I was like, can we form our own search party? Like, I shouldn't have even asked. I don't know. Who can stop it?
They can't stop it. I mean, they don't have to cooperate with it, but they can't stop it. And
at this point, like, I know in Scott's mind, he just thought London was a runaway and going to come home. And then, I understand. Right. London has been in a little bit of trouble before, but like, when things got concerning, he should have listened, like, really listened. Like, this isn't normal behavior at this point, but he wouldn't listen. And then he mocked me the whole entire time. And then also made fun of my mom, and she was dead. He told me, I think I told you this last time what he said. And he said, you need to quit being so negative. You're acting like she's dead already or something. And he was like, you're being really negative for someone who's a counselor and you're going to school. Like, he was just making fun of me. And I was like, Scott, I'm a mother first. And I'm telling you, my heart knows something's wrong. And then the next day she was found. And this was literally the night before. And he looked at my mom because she was trying to stand up for me. And he was like, and she's part of the biggest problem. I mean, it was so unprofessional for someone whose daughter was missing.
That's crazy to me. And we're going to see an email from the DA, Buddy Leach, later on that's just about as insensitive and unprofessional.
Oh.
So your mom is having a really hard time with this. She hadn't seen the medical examiner's report before. So I just want to show the second page now because it shows the circumstances. It doesn't show the details, but it shows the circumstances of her being found on the 12th. So Liz, I'm just giving you fair warning. It's not really all that enlightening, but we do need to go over the facts of how she was found. I think, unless you think otherwise.
Who, me?
Yes.
Oh, no, I think, I had to get it from you. So I think she'll be understanding, like, that, it wasn't really a choice.
We're not going into all of the gory details. Those are on the pages after this. We're only going into the big picture, how she was found.
Yeah.
Let me share it real quick. So that's the autopsy report. Here is the case summary. And apparently my neighbor decided to nail some stuff. So if you hear a little bit of nailing going on, that's my neighbor next door.
I don't hear anything, so you're good.
Okay, good. Case summary, in my opinion, so this is the medical examiner. Let me scroll up real quick. Celia Cobb, MD, Oklahoma City. She says, in my opinion, based on circumstances surrounding death and the findings at autopsy, London Valdez died as a result of acute methamphetamine toxicity compounded by hyperthermia. The manner of death is best classified as an accident. I have questions about that. The opinion as to the cause and manner of death is based on the information available at I'm going to zoom in a little bit so people who are on smaller screens can see it. The opinion as to the cause and manner of death is based on the information available at the date of this report. If additional objective probative information becomes available, I reserve the right to consider such information and, if appropriate, amend the report, including the cause and manner of death. Manner of death classification is a statutory function of the medical examiner as part of death certification for purposes of vital statistics and public health. Manner of death is not a legal determination of culpability or intent and should not be used to usurp the judicial process. Somebody should be aware of that sentence. Is not a legal determination of culpability or lack of culpability. Medical legal investigation, circumstances of death. According to the investigator reports and medical records, the decedent was a 16-year-old female who was last known alive on June 7, 2025. She was found deceased on June 12, 2025, off the side of a remote dirt road in early to moderate stages of decomposition. Identification: the body is identified through OSBI fingerprint analysis. Fingerprints and blood samples on filter paper are recorded and retained. How could they do blood samples?
We were wondering the same thing.
I thought they couldn't do blood samples.
Right. But
I
is
wonder
there a
if
difference
it's-
with femoral? If the femoral part's different, or
I'm wondering if it's just like specifying that all fingerprint and blood samples are filter paper and recorded and retained, and like they lump that together, but it doesn't say that is identified through blood samples. It just says fingerprint analysis.
Oh, good question though. That's still worded.
Post-mortem examination, circumstances of examination. The post-mortem is performed by Dr. Cobb, assisting the exam. Death investigator Janice Wilkinson and autopsy technician Autumn Spurgeon. Clothing and personal effects. The body is received clad in gray sports bra, blue lace bra, gray boxer briefs, and red plaid underwear, as well as a gold-colored metal watch around the right wrist, a gold-colored navel ring with a red gemstone, and a black hair tie around the left wrist. The body is received with the tag. The hands are received protected by paper bags. Now, we talked about this earlier when we were on the phone call, and I thought that hands were usually protected by plastic bags, not paper bags. That doesn't make sense to me because paper bags absorb external fluids and can transfer them through the paper bag to the hands on the inside of those. They usually protect them with plastic bags so they can get DNA samples under the fingernails, blood samples on filter paper, clothing, personal effects, scalp hair samples, fingernail clippings, and then several swabs were retained and introduced as evidence. So they did do swabs. I don't see fingernail swabs listed in there, though. And I don't see, so we talked about this earlier, we don't see any evidence of the results of those swabs that they took, that they supposedly took, like positive or negative for any type of DNA, known DNA, unknown DNA. None of that is listed in the rest of the pages of this.
Right.
So
I've never seen another medical examiner report, so I don't know what they normally put in there and what they normally don't, but I would assume if they're going to put that they took it, they would put the results on there, whether I mean, took it.
I would think so too. Yeah, I would think so too. I have a couple more questions for my Emmy friend in New York. Especially regarding that, like if they said they took swabs, why didn't they take fingernail swabs, and what are the results of those, those DNA swabs?
If there's any Emmys in the comments.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. If anybody wants to pipe up, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trial TV Live. They're a friend of my channel.
I was gonna mention that I went over her clothes. If you notice, she didn't have on the clothes, like her clothes were actually in a pile next on the road, and she had on Jose's red hoodie, but I don't know if that was found in the clothes or not. I've never been able to get an answer for that. Now we know she had it on. I just don't know if that was in the pile of clothes she had on, or that were on the side of the road. So she had a pile of clothes right here, and then backtracked. Her shoes are on the other side of the road, and then over here is her body. So just even driving down the road, nobody saw clothes and shoes and an entire body laying there for 5 days.
For 5 days.
Mind you, we were there not even 10 minutes, and 2 cars had driven by us at the scene, at the location. This is before it had been released. The location hadn't even been released. And of course, when we asked the sheriff how in the world, if 2 cars had just driven by us in a 15-minute span, how would nobody have seen her body? He said, "Oh, they're just being nosy."
Out in the middle
Nosy of what?
nowhere, Oklahoma.
Nowhere, Oklahoma.
This isn't even like in town in Forgan. It's not in Beaver. It's out on a country dirt road, like 3 miles outside.
On a dirt road, onto a dirt road. Like,
you want to know something else that's crazy? The day after we left, someone came out and regraded the road and covered up all the footprints that she had. The next day.
I heard that. And we don't know who.
Mowed the grass down, regraded the entire, and not the entire stretch of 3 miles worth of dirt road, just the spot where London, from the vehicle to where London was found.
I have pictures of it.
Okay, so let's talk about that vehicle, and let's talk about those couple of days between the 5th and the 7th. So Jose comes to Hooker to pick her up. And she says she thinks Braden's cute, so he's going to go take her to Braden's house. Right?
Yeah. So, they went to Optima first, which is a little town, and went to one of his other friends went fishing, and then they went to go pick up Braden.
They went to go pick up Braden, or they went to go hang out with Braden?
They went to go hang out with Braden. They went to Beaver. Okay,
so Braden lives in Beaver, like 40 miles east of Hooker, right?
Yeah.
Beaver's like 40 miles east of Hooker.
Yeah. Braden's dad lives in Beaver, and then his mom lives in Woodward.
Okay, which is even further southeast.
2.5 hours ish.
Yeah.
3 hours. Something like that.
So Braden is staying with his dad for the time being in Beaver, 40 miles east of Hooker. Jose goes to pick her up, takes her to go hang out with Braden in Beaver on the 5th. And is it that night? So Braden Brown's dad's name is Leo, right? Leo or Leonard.
Yeah, he goes by Leo.
And I've seen 2 different versions of this story. So everybody keep in mind, we have no facts from law enforcement at this point that I know of. I mean, obviously, Special Agent Beck has been giving you guys some information from here and there, but most of this you guys have pieced together on your own. And also keep in mind that suspects are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So we're not saying anybody is guilty on here. We're just saying there were people that are known to have been seen with London those 3 days, the 5th and 6th and 7th. So Leo did Leo see them that night, the 5th?
Yeah, I actually talked to Leo's dad. Or Braden's dad.
Okay.
Yeah. They were there the 5th. He said when he was pulling up from work, Jose had just leaving. And so Braden and London were there by themselves until he left around 9:30 to go hang out with some of his friends, drink.
And then he came back around midnight and they were gone.
He said late in the evening, late in the night. And I said, so like around midnight or later, he said, oh yeah. And then he said when he came back, they were gone.
So what goes on for the next couple of days? Because Jose picked up London in like a black coupe or sedan of some kind, right? Was it like his mom's
His
car?
mom's 4-door black Nissan.
Okay. So at some point in time, there's a red SUV that gets involved, and that's the one that gets stuck out. So how do they get transferred to the SUV, and when do they get stuck?
So there's been two different, like, I'm not really sure. Somehow they ended up in Woodward, but there's been two different stories, like, about how I've heard that. From Scott Hedrick himself, he told me that Braden said he rode his bike from Woodward from Beaver to Woodward in the middle of the night.
What?
And that Jose said, yeah. And I guess I asked like a bicycle. He said it was like a motorbike, but it was still like an hour, like away to Woodward from this. But Jose says him and London woke up and Braden was gone. He'd left and he rode his bike back to Woodward. And that's what Scott Hedrick told me. And he said it like he just believed that. And I'm like, I'm no professional here, but that sounds a little fishy. And so I asked him, I said, do you guys confirm he had a bike? Yeah, the sheriff said he does own or the police in Woodward or somebody said that he owns a bike. And I think it's like a little dirt bike or something. But I mean, what sense does it make up that Braden woke up in the middle of the night and left Jose and London at his dad's house without telling them and left?
And rode all the way an hour, what would have taken an hour or more in a regular car.
Yeah. But then the next story is they just all, which I think makes the most sense, is they all drove in the car to Braden's mom's.
Well, there's video. There's video evidence of them all in the car on the morning of the 7th in Woodward
at a gas station.
So, and there's a witness that said that they all three walked in the door the night of the 6th together at Braden's mom's house. So.
And that Lennon was carrying a 12-pack of Natty Light. And Lennon would have drank first, I don't know, Natty Light, though. That's how I feel like it's not made up, because they didn't say Bud Light. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty specific, like, beer. Not even a popular brand, so.
So whose vehicle was the red SUV then?
Jose's dad's. So Jose left that completely out when he told me the story the first time. The only reason I knew that he wasn't driving it is because London sent a last Snapchat of her in the back seat with two guys in the front. And you could see on this is how detective mode we went. I could see on the steering wheel the emblem of the Nissan. And I was like, that's not a Subaru. So I zoomed in and I seen it and I was like, I drive Beck nuts sometimes. Like, I know I do, but I send him all kinds of stuff.
Is it a Toyota or a Nissan? Oh,
Toyota, Nissan.
I don't remember.
And now you're gonna make me confused.
Sorry.
But it was a little black. Yeah, well, it wasn't a Subaru. That's what. Mm-hmm. So that's when I realized it was a different car. And so he was like, "Oh yeah, we had my mom's car." Like, that's a pretty big detail you left out there, buddy. And so apparently they went to Braden's mom's house. There's a witness there that had heard a whole bunch of things, saw London, said London played with her kids and all kinds of stuff. And so she saw them there. And she's the one that let us know that there was, if we look, there's probably a video of them at the gas station. So, and there was, and they were in the black car when they left. So somewhere in between there and when they apparently went to Guyman, that's a new questionable thing too. They went to Beaver to have traded mom's black car for dad's Subaru, and dad was in Mexico. So that's how they got dad's car. And
so sometime on the 7th, and we don't know exactly when.
Not only did they trade it, but that's when they supposedly split up. Is they got dad's Subaru, and Jose and Braden, or Jose took the mom's car and Braden took the Subaru.
Well, there's two different stories to that too. The first story was that they all drove to Guyman to the hotel, and that Jose says he got out and he got in with friends, and that he let Braden and London take his dad's car because Braden was supposed to take London home, and he was going to go drop the dad's car back off. That never happened. But then Braden now says that him and London were watching a movie at his dad's, and that Jose asked them to take the car because he was going to go to the casino and party, and that they didn't want to go, which obviously maybe is true because London can't get into a casino. So there's inconsistencies there. They're both, one says the other one's lying.
Right. And
Mm.
to you, Jose's story has changed multiple times.
Yeah, I've talked to Jose more than I've talked to Braden, but yeah, Jose has had different stories.
Well, he went in the comments after our last interview and professed his innocence in the comments, but he hasn't said anything since then.
Yeah.
He said the OSBI has his phone. That's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they have his phone. I think the way he's getting on Facebook is like he said through his brother's account.
Okay. Gotcha.
I don't know how Braden has a phone.
I mean, they can go buy new burner phones. I can get 16 phones if I wanted to with different phone numbers and
that's true.
have different Facebook accounts. And I mean,
but apparently Braden's phone and his bag were never found. He lost those that night conveniently too.
What? So the OSBI doesn't have those?
we don't know, honestly, on that one.
But that's
Oh man.
believe that's a man. We're like, okay, we're like, because London had a text now number and they were talking about pinging it, and we're like, they only last for 30 days, and they're like, if she didn't have her, because I'm telling you that phone thing's like that, where the phone thing comes in, kind of weird. If she didn't have her phone, how is it gonna ping where she was at if she didn't have it? And they, you know what I mean?
Well, that should have been the very first warrants that Special Agent Beck should have been obtaining, was for everybody's phones. And even if you don't have the actual phones and can't do the gray key extraction with the Celebrite conversion into something that makes sense, you can still submit warrants to the service providers.
She didn't have a service provider. She wasn't supposed to have a phone.
Right, but Text Now is like an app, right? So that's a company. So that's a company that he could have submitted a warrant to for her records, for her Text Now warrant.
Just not in time.
Yeah, just
he didn't do that.
He said he did. He said he got warrants for all their phones and all their social media accounts, which I don't know that either, because London's is the only one that doesn't work. Because obviously they're messaging me on their accounts.
Right.
But London's, if you try to send in a message, because I tried to send her one, even though I knew she had just, telling her I love her and just, and I tried to send it and just, I told her I was sorry and just, I couldn't be there for her. And I tried to send it and it won't let me send because her account's blocked down. So it's like, it's completely shut off. Like I knew she wasn't going to get it. Like, it's just getting my own feelings off. But that's kind of how I found out, like, that everything's shut down, all her accounts. You can still see it, but you can't contact it. You can't message it or anything.
I'm sorry.
And we found out that her number had been refurbished. This really tripped everybody out. Yeah, my mom had sent a text, and because we're struggling with coping. And so she had sent a text and it said, "London, it's time to come home now." And somebody wrote back and said, "Who's this?" And my mom was like, "London?" And there, and it's not funny, but I mean, at the time when we were like, what is going on? But then we found out.
Mind you, this is way after
this was way after. So it was like in the end of July, and so, we learned though.
No, it was in August because we were.
It was in the very beginning of August. And so then my oldest daughter, she has more experience with text now, but she said after 30 days of it being inactive that they give the number away. But it just really upset me because there should have been time like that. Like you said, that should have been taken care of right away. There's so many things that if it had been taken care of right away, we would have so much more evidence. Like the fact that they didn't have alcohol in our system, and we know for a fact they were drinking. I have screenshots of them saying they were drinking with her when they left Woodward. But because they waited so long, there was no blood left to accurately test the alcohol levels.
Okay, so tell me the story then again about Braden being reported walking alongside the road after he got the SUV stuck. And okay, so first of all, what day was that he got the SUV stuck and she was probably in the passenger seat and he was the driver? Was that the 7th?
The 7th, yeah.
Okay.
And I pieced together the timeline about when it happened because I have several screenshots and people saying that, including Jose, like that he was calling people around 6:30, telling people that he was being chased by the police and the police were outside his vehicle. He texted his mom, "If you don't see me again." Oh, apparently his mom was on the phone with them the whole entire time. She told me that herself, that she was on the phone with them all the way up until they ran from the car. But yeah, like where was I at? Sorry, I just went on a whole nother.
About the text, about the timeline.
Yeah, about the SUV getting stuck and then him getting reported by somebody walking alongside the road.
Yeah, so all these other ones are showing at 6:30 is about when he was telling people he was being chased by the police and all this other stuff. But Johnson didn't pick him up until around 9.
And so sometime between 6:30 and 9, he got the vehicle stuck, ran from the vehicle, and was witnessed by the community member that lives out there on one of the farms. Their report was that he was like rummaging through the ditches and stuff. And when in the report that was called in, we got that call record. It shows that they told the dispatcher that he told them he was hired by Jason Johnston, the undersheriff, to pick up trash.
He was working for Jason Johnson.
And that was surprising that that's the one that happened to show up to get him that night too.
At 6:30 on a Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, this was around 9. Give you those hours missing in between.
Yeah. Which later, Braden, we have messages from Braden, describing his take on where he was at and for those few hours and what was happening and why.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother, well, I'll stay on track. Hold on.
It's so hard sometimes.
It is hard because there's so much like.
So he gets the SUV stuck and he takes off down the road. He either leaves her in the SUV or she takes off down a different direction.
So, yeah. And so when I talked to Jose said that Braden called him on Snapchat and he was freaking. I have a recording of it, actually. He was freaking out and said Braden was freaking out and said the cops had surrounded him and he didn't know what to do. And that Jose said, "Get out of the car and lock all the doors and stand outside the car." And I said, "Why'd you tell him that? Because you know that they have to have a search warrant to get into your car. Was there something in there?" You hear me asking this. Was there something in there you didn't want him to see? No, I just, he just was freaking out and he was on a sick one. And I said, "What's a sick one?" He was high. And so apparently we looked that up because a sick one is on a bender, like a pill bender, or drug bender. And so I don't think it just has to be pills. I think it just has to be a drug bender. I'm not
bad trip.
Yeah, bad trip. There you go. And so I said, and you can hear me. This was before, and this is even when I knew. I said, "Was London still alive?" Like I knew in my heart, like even at this point, and I noticed this after I asked. I didn't say, "Do you think I said, "Was she still alive?" Like I knew in my heart something was wrong. He said,
and this is before we knew.
Yeah, and he said, "No, I didn't hear her in the background or anything like that." He was like, he was saying something about, "I'm at my grandpa's land," and something like that. And then he said, "All you care about is the truck," and hung up. Because Jose was like, "What happened to my dad's truck?" At the time, and Jose told me too, he's like, when they found the truck, all the doors were open and it had been cleaned out. I don't know if someone robbed it or something.
But they were seen cleaning it out at some point in time before the OSBI took custody of it, correct?
Yeah.
So yeah, they recorded themselves cleaning it out. Supposedly the recording was made to give to Jose's dad to show the dad the damage. But they conveniently showed that same recording to Scott Hedrick, chief of police in Hooker, to prove that they didn't have anything to hide, quote unquote.
That's what he told me. And I was like, that's not weird to you?
That's like destroying evidence, right?
Yeah. He's like, no, they showed me a video. What?
So at some point in time on the 7th around 9 o'clock, Braden goes walking down the road, gets reported by a local community member, sees him walking alongside the road. He gets
he was in her ditches, and she went out there and asked him what he was doing, and that's what he said. And he asked her if he could have some food and water, and she called the cops because she said he was acting so weird.
And so under Sheriff Jason Johnston shows up. Braden tells him supposedly that he's under the influence, and Jason Johnston performs a DUI investigation.
No. Nope.
He also knew that
he could tell that he was messed up because he wasn't even making sense. He said himself didn't know up from down.
He'd also at some point either told him or Jason knew that he didn't have a driver's license either.
Mm-hmm. And then he had told him he had high centered the truck, which to me sounds a lot like he wrecked it, and got stuck.
Right.
But that sounds a lot better than I wrecked the car being drunk. Then oops, I accidentally high centered it.
Yeah, high centered kind of sounds like I was doing some off roading and I didn't put it in 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Instead of I was high and I wrecked it. Yeah.
Thought I was running from the cops. Now that I'm willing to get in your car.
Right. So instead of performing a DUI investigation, what happens?
Jason called Leo and said, "Hey, I got your son here. He can't. You need to come get him. We're on this road and this road." And Leo says, "I can't come get him, dude. I've been drinking and I had a couple beers." And so Jason agrees to take him home. Took him to his dad's house.
No DUI investigation. What happens with the SUV? Does he call like a tow truck or something to get it?
There was initial call in the call log for a tow truck. We don't know who called that in, but it was in there to have a tow truck dispatched out there, but it was canceled.
Oh, here's another fun fact. The grandpa owns a wrecking shop.
And that's Mr. Wright,
Yeah, right.
W-R-I-G-H-T. Yeah.
And don't forget, Jose said the first time that Braden was mentioned, he was on his grandpa's land.
I did a parcel search and I didn't see any property outside of Forgan. All I saw was that he owns like 6 properties inside of Forgan, a bunch of the town lots. He does own 10 acres north of Forgan.
That's what it is, yeah.
We think
that's what he was looking for.
Yeah, okay. We think that Braden thought that he was going, and he got mixed up and ended up on the other side. And so when he told Jose that he was on his grandpa's land, we think that he thought maybe he was headed there, or just got, because out there it's so rural, you can't tell north from south out there when you're on one of them dirt roads.
And when you're high,
and if you're high or drunk off your ass.
Leo said, "My dad is Mark Wright, and his property is less than half a mile north of Forgan." Yep.
That's the 10-acre parcel. Yeah.
Yeah, he said he asked his dad, and which is kind of weird because this was before I'd even knew. He said he asked his dad, and that his dad said he didn't see any suspicious activity. Of course, I don't know.
Well, because Braden was on the wrong side of town.
Yeah, he was trying to be there.
All right, so he goes one way, she goes another way. She somehow has put 10 times the level of methamphetamine in her body that would cause an overdose. And it causes her body to like speed up and have hyperthermia. She gets really hot. She starts taking off her clothes and then just
cardiac arrest.
Yeah. So her body's found on the 12th. They tell you who has control of the scene before the OSBI takes over it. Is that Beaver County Sheriff Scott Mitchell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he called Hooker. It was Hooker was out there too, I guess. From what I understood is there was like 5 districts out there at the same time. Just it happened to be Beaver County Sheriff that is the one that stumbled across it conveniently.
Right before OSBI got there.
For real.
For real.
Okay.
They happened
So,
to just all of a sudden find her out there laying where she was after that, and then it just shows that they didn't look.
so was the OSBI called in before she was found?
Mm-hmm.
And-
They found
We're not 100% sure. I'm not going to lie. So I called OSBI, I think I called the DA around 11 o'clock. However, the Emmy report or the first Emmy report says that she was found at 9 a.m. So the DA that I spoke with was the assistant DA that day on the phone is the one that told me that he was sending the email right then to get OSBI involved. However, OSBI, according to that Emmy report, was already involved by 9 a.m. So I think that's when when Scott Mitchell found her, he contacted Hooker to let them know we have found a suspicious death body. You need to contact OSBI.
I think that Jose, when I had to take Jose down to the police station myself and beg for him to be talked to, I think after Scott met with Jose, and Jose had to literally say, I think something's wrong. That's when Scott finally was like, gonna listen. And then the next day, I think after meeting with Jose, because he didn't get done with Jose until like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So I think the next day he let somebody know, like, I think it was Guero. They call him Bubba G. I'm just not really sure what his real officer name is, but I think he had him go out there and be like, oh crap, I don't think London is just a runaway now. This kid I hate when I say that. This man just told me that, this and this. And then I think I think somebody took it serious at that point, that morning. Because I met Hedrick at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then they found her by 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what were the circumstances of that conversation between Jose and Scott Hedrick? You said that was like late at night, like 10, 11 o'clock at night?
So that's when it ended. Like, that's when he got done, because Jose got there around like 6:30, because I drove all the way from Ponca to Hooker just to make sure somebody saw him. Because remember, Scott wasn't answering our phone calls. And even when we got there, we tried to call him. He was sending him to voicemail. My mom tried to call him. He sent her to voicemail. He's really hateful to my mom, just so you know. But he sent her to voicemail, and she had to text him and be like, Scott, we have Jose here ready to talk to you. And first he said he was going to send Bubba G, because don't forget, this is the same day he told us him and the Beaver Sheriff were going to go talk to Braden and Woodward. So then when he showed up, I was like, what are you doing here? I thought you were going to be in Woodward. I never said that. And everybody was like, yeah, you did. You did say that. He said, oh, I said I would try. Well, when are you going to try, Scott? Like, and at this point, she'd already been dead for days.
Yeah,
like,
that was the 11th. So she's been dead for 4 days by
4
that
days.
point.
So he never even went to Woodward. And because I was like, maybe he decided he didn't want Bubba G to do it because he knew. I don't know. He said he was going to send him. So I was a little shocked whenever he pulled up himself, because I thought he said he was busy. So
did they disappear into the police station, like the interrogation interview room type of thing?
Yeah, him and his mom.
Oh, his mom was with him.
Yeah, mom
And
was with him.
how old is he?
20.
20, and he needed his mom in there in the room with him.
And she was allowed.
Yeah. I don't know if they like separated in there, but I have a feeling, I don't feel like they are being treated like adults. They're being looked at as as boys, and it's not. I think that has created a big, like, wrong when it was the perspective of the situation here, the seriousness of it, because they're not teenagers like London was. They're adult men. They're men.
Yeah, it's a disconnect in the investigation, and not standard procedures for a 20-year-old to have his mom in the interview room. And like you said, we don't know that she was for sure. Like
Yeah.
they weren't there.
But he definitely didn't let us in the building. And that's probably when he was the most disrespectful that night. That's when he like yelled at my mom and made fun of me for being a counselor and told me I was overreacting and said for being a counselor, I should know how to handle crisis. I was like, you should know how to handle. I mean, it was back and forth, but yeah, I think that's when I think that they were like, oh, I think Lennon might not actually be a runaway. Lennon might actually be in danger after talking to him. Maybe we should go check. And then I think that they did. I think they went and checked. And at first I thought OSBI was the one that actually found her. So I was
actually given 3 different stories about who actually found her.
And so it was actually Agent Beck that was like, oh no, we got there after. And I was like, oh, how convenient that they all of a sudden went and found this body that has been this girl that's supposed, and then right before you get there, they put in the effort to find her.
Okay,
and
so
all along they knew the area because the sheriff picked him up out there. And the sheriff talked to Liz, the same sheriff, Johnson. He talked to Liz on the phone. He knew London was with Braden. He knew London was missing, and he never went back and looked at that area where he knew he picked Braden up.
My mom called him herself to be like, hey, my granddaughter was last seen with this guy from Beaver County. And he said, oh, I know him. I just picked him up on Saturday. And we were like, and then so even
that's how we found out the car had been high-centered.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
And they still never went and put the two connected after she was reported as a runaway and been like, hey, I picked up this kid that was last seen with this girl that's a runaway. Maybe I should go check out this where she was at.
You can even in an emergency situation, you can even get a warrant for phone pings while the search for her is still going on. Like you don't have to wait until somebody is found deceased to get a warrant. If it's exigent circumstances, you could conceivably get a warrant to check for phone pings.
That's the thing, though. I don't think that they thought that it was anything serious up until the night of the 11th, maybe when he talked to Jose. I think that he just thought London was being a delinquent, and he was treating it as such.
Well, why did it take you, Brittany, driving Jose to the police station for that interview to take place?
That is, I was gonna make sure that happened. Like when I saw that he kept sending Jose to voicemail, and I was like, Jose is ready to meet with somebody. Like I called my job. I said I won't be at work tomorrow. Like I'm going down to Hooker, and I was gonna sit outside the police station until someone showed up. Like because I really don't think that they thought anything was wrong. I think he really just thought London was, doing this, which is, I try to give, okay, so did we kind of, for, like the once something started not adding up, he should have really listened. Like,
well, and what happened to erring on the side of caution? Like
exactly.
I made this connection before, like what happened in the Delphi case with Abby and Libby in 2017. They were searching for them actively up until midnight, and some people actually continued searching after midnight. But at midnight, the county sheriff, Tobe Lesenby, called off the search on February 13th and said, we don't believe the girls are in danger. And then 12 hours later, they were found horribly murdered, alongside the creek. But he said, he didn't just say, we think that like people who are searching, their lives are going to be at risk because it's such dangerous terrain or anything like that. He said, we don't believe the girls are in danger. And he couldn't have been further from wrong, from right, further from right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll fast forward a little bit here. Took almost 90 days, like 75-ish days for the summary report to come out from the ME. And then it took pretty close to 90 days for the actual autopsy report to come out on Thursday. And I sent that to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you sent a letter to the prosecutor.
Mm-hmm.
George Buddy Leach III. George Leach III, also known as Buddy.
Yeah.
So it's redacted, so I'm not doxing you. This doesn't show your email or your address.
Appreciate that.
Well, yeah, Rochelle, because she's good at writing the legal words and stuff. I help write stuff, but she puts it in like where I'm not like, oh hell no, because that's what I want to be like, So she's like, let's rephrase that. Let's like, okay, you're right. Probably shouldn't say that.
Okay, so this is Friday, 2 days ago, September 12th. To George Buddy Leach, the third district attorney for Texas County. He's also the district attorney for Weaver County, is it? And another county.
Beaver County.
Beaver, okay, yeah.
Where
They lump 3 counties together, yes.
It's small town buddy system type stuff.
And he was appointed by, I was going to pull up the article, but it's just like too much trouble for this guy. Y'all can, everybody in chat can go Google George Buddy Leach III. It's an interesting looking fellow.
I just saw him today after you told me to
Yeah.
look. After saying that, I was like, I've never seen him. Rochelle pulled him up. I was like, oh my. Okay.
Reference request for criminal charges in the death of London Valdez. Dear District Attorney Leach, I'm writing as the deeply concerned mother to request immediate prosecutorial action regarding the tragic death of London Valdez, who was found deceased 3 miles outside of Forgan, Oklahoma on June 12, 2025. Based on the available evidence and applicable Oklahoma law, there is more than sufficient cause for the arrest and charging of Braden Brown and Jose Manjarres. Evidence overview. Continuous association, OSBI cell tower analysis. So did Agent Beck share some of that with you guys?
Yeah, he did. He had told us that they had used the cell tower analysis and were able to confirm that London was with Jose and Braden during those 2 days.
Continuous association, London Valdez was with Braden Brown for the 2 days preceding her death. Drug use and intoxication. Brown was seen by community witnesses who called the police and reported he was a suspicious male under the influence, and also reported it to be in the same area as London's body was later found. And he was later located in the same area, observed, picked up, and transported home to his father, Leo Brown's home, by law enforcement sheriff Jason Johnston, who reported to my family and OSBI Special Agent Beck that Brown was heavily under the influence, had high-centered his truck on the muddy road, and had no license to drive that same night of June the 7th. The toxicology report later confirmed London had 14 micrograms per gram of methamphetamine in her liver, which is 3 to 10 times higher than most recorded meth overdoses. Acute methamphetamine toxicity compounded by hyperthermia as the cause of London Valdez death, according to the ME report. I want to note that means she took a large amount in a short time. Further research shows that in order for her liver levels to be that high 5 to 6 days after death, the only viable way to get it into her system was through ingestion. Science says that the human body would shut down before it got to that amount if she were to have tried to smoke that amount that would have put her tox screen that high. Plus, the ME report showed no signs in her esophagus or lungs consistent with large amounts of meth inhalation and no signs of needle use or track marks. London was not a methamphetamine user, and at 16 years old, she would not have chosen to swallow meth for entertainment. With the reports given to us of Braden Brown calling his family and friends and claiming he was being chased by agents in a high-speed chase, and him admitting that he swallowed a bunch of meth before getting out of the vehicle and running because he was paranoid, it is easy to come to the conclusion that Braden coerced London into also swallowing the lethal amount that killed her. Keep in mind, this is mother's letter. This is Brittany's letter to the prosecutor.
Yeah. This is supposed to be like my request for proposal for charges, like to try to explain Yeah, none of this is like anyone else's words, but ours or opinions.
At least one witness has reported overhearing Braden Brown and Jose Manjares discussing using drugs to incapacitate women in order to commit sexual acts, specifically referencing the victim, which we have audio recording of the witness telling us this and have given it to Special Agent Beck several months ago. Harboring and transport. Manjares picked up London Valdez from her home, this is a fact, in Hooker, Oklahoma, and over the course of 2 days, never returned her. Manjares' vehicle was used by Brown to transport Valdez to the location where she was abandoned and later found deceased. More applicable Oklahoma law, distribution of controlled substances to a minor. Braden Brown's admitted meth use with London Valdez toxicology results and her resulting death supports this charge. Child endangerment. Both Brown and Manjares placed Valdez in life-threatening conditions by supplying drugs, harboring her, and abandoning her, contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Both men facilitated her unlawful drug use and absence from home. Unlawful harboring of a runaway. Here's the runaway thing. Manjares unlawfully kept Valdez from her home and failed to notify her guardians or authorities. Now we're getting into some serious stuff here. So buckle up.
Mm-hmm.
First-degree manslaughter. The death of London Valdez occurred during the commission of unlawful acts. Drug distribution, child endangerment, harboring a runaway. Felony murder. Brown's distribution of meth or using meth with a minor, which directly caused her death. We just saw that in the ME report. That is the stated probable cause of death. Satisfies the elements of felony murder.
Can I interject something right there?
Yes, absolutely.
In the state of Oklahoma, felony murder is classified as first-degree murder, and it is if somebody dies in the commission of a felony. It does not mean that I took a gun and shot that person, but if somebody dies in the commission of a felony I'm committing, I can be charged with felony murder, which holds the same consequences and the same level as first-degree murder in the state of Oklahoma.
Sexual exploitation, attempted rape by administration of drugs. Witness testimony indicates intent to incapacitate Valdez through drugs for sexual purposes, which constitutes an additional criminal offense. Request for action. Brittany and Rochelle believe strongly that the evidence establishes a clear chain of criminal conduct by Braden Brown and Jose Manjares that led directly to the death of London Valdez. These acts were not only unlawful, but they also show a depraved disregard for human life. I respectfully urge your office to file charges promptly against both Brown and Manjares under the above statutes. Take necessary steps to ensure that witnesses are interviewed and protected. Communicate to the community that this case is being pursued vigorously and without delay. The community and London's family deserve justice. The law is clear, the evidence is strong, and the time for accountability is long overdue. Thank you for your attention to this urgent matter. Respectfully, Brittany Valdez, the mother of London Valdez.
We tried to lay it out, you know, so
and
that,
be very respectful at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think that we overstepped our boundaries in any way. Like,
I don't even know if he read all of it, to be honest, from the sounds of it. Like
some of the questions that he asks in his response were answered in that email.
Shall we get into that then? Shall we look at his response? Shall we outrage chat? Because I was outraged when I read it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let me.
I was just so shocked when I read it.
Yeah, definitely was.
The anger didn't even set in immediately for us. We were just like, are we really reading this? Like, is this true? Is this serious?
It did
Like,
with
we
me.
read it,
I
like,
went.
different ways just to see if it like changed, and it did.
I was outraged immediately. Like, and I've shared it on a couple of other channels, Web Sleuths and Nights with Ping, and everybody there has been outraged too. Like, this is a district attorney that
The one
is
that's in charge, yeah.
yeah, the one that's in charge of prosecuting criminals and getting
The criminal
justice
in this
for
case.
victims. London is the victim in this. She is the one that is deceased and that was
Yeah.
fed meth and left out alongside a road to die.
Yeah.
She's the victim, but this is
Yeah.
what he has to say. Oh, no, I got to go backwards. Add to stage. There we go. Okay. So this is from george.leach.dac.state.ok.us. Let me zoom in on this.
And I got that email address by calling his office and got it directly from them.
His email address.
You know, it's funny in Texas when I was trying to get public records for covering the floods there, the county engineer who approved those campsites to be built in the floodplain, magically his email disappeared off of the web, and I can't get it still to this day.
Oh, we have backup.
And
For
our
our
backup. I was about to say, and our backup has backup.
All right. So this is his response to that plea for justice for London. The OSBI is currently investigating this case.
I knew he was going to read it that way. I knew you were going to point that out.
When their investigation concludes, I will receive a prosecutorial that reflects the evidence that has been discovered. I will staff the case with them and receive their recommendation. I will staff the case? This, who wrote this? Was it, I wonder if Buddy himself wrote this. I have questions.
He uses I a lot, so.
In the meantime, my office will continue to assist the OSBI with appropriate court documents, which will allow them to retrieve additional evidence. That's good. That's a good thing. 2 of my assistants and I went to Beaver County and met the OSBI and an investigator from the medical examiner's office when London was found. I've also received a report from the medical examiner's office. Other than that, I have not received any further information regarding this case. So tell me about when he and his 2 assistants went out to Beaver County.
That would have been on the 12th. We didn't even know that until he said that in the email. And then we asked Agent Beck about it.
So I wonder if there was any investigation done on the 12th. Like, were there photographs taken? Was there, I mean, I'm sure there were photographs taken. Were there cast marks made of footprints and tire tracks?
Mark. See, we asked the same thing.
Because the cast marks could have told them exactly who was wearing the shoes that they claimed were London's, because the cast marks would have been able to tell the weight of the person wearing the shoes.
Plus, we pointed out the fact that, you know, they claimed she was running, and I took pictures and I showed them. I said, look at these stride marks. I said, was she running or was she walking? And he was like, well, she had to have been walking. I said, exactly. She wasn't running from this vehicle. It was walking footprints, and she's wearing Air Force One, which is one of the most common teenager shoes, and they wear around London and Braden wear around the same size. So
could they go out now and take cast prints now?
No,
because the ground's been regraded now. So
it's been rained on. It's been regraded.
Somebody went out with a grader right after.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how soon after did that happen?
The next after, like,
it was the day after we were there. We went out there on the 14th. Mitchell took us out there on the 14th to view the spot for the first time, because we hadn't even been told where it was yet.
Mm-mm. Everything seemed like a big secret. We thought
only to us.
Yeah.
We found out later that it seemed like everybody else knew before we knew anything.
Yeah, even people that lived there knew where she was found. And
So speaking of notifications, so Brittany, you found out that she had been found first. And what did they tell you about notifying other family members?
No, I wasn't allowed to tell them. I wasn't supposed to tell anybody anything, not even my daughter. So then the next day, Sheriff Beaver, the next day, Beaver County puts out a press release
on Facebook. And I'm like, you guys just told me I can't even tell my daughter. So now I'm having to call my daughter so she doesn't find out on social media. But Agent Beck, even though it says
they were involved in writing that, and I think that they were, maybe, but I don't think they had an idea that that was going to be put out that day.
He said he didn't authorize it to be issued to Facebook. He didn't even know it had been put on there, according to Beck.
Yeah. But he didn't deny that they weren't a part of it. He just didn't know that Mitchell was going to be putting that out there, which I thought it was pretty strange that he made sure to make a report that said that their community is not in danger and it's safe. Just the downside.
Yeah, because you already know the cause and manner of her death. Like,
Right.
Yeah. How do you know? Yeah.
Okay, so continuing with this letter from the prosecutor. In the meantime, my office will continue to assist OSBI. 2 of my assistants went to Beaver County. If you have additional information regarding this case, please contact the OSBI and provide them with that information. How much information have you guys provided to the OSBI?
A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
And
That's why we kind of looked at that like, okay.
I mean, you can at some point pull up the 14-page document that I just emailed Agent Beck Friday. So, like,
yeah, I've got it ready to go
and
next.
that's probably the smallest amount of stuff. Like, I
That's the
mean,
summary.
gosh, we gave him a whole flash drive full of
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
Oh, and people are going and checking out the petition, and they're signing the petition. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you. We need the community support.
when we were further researching petitions that have to do with governmental change, and it's saying that like a minimum of 10,000 signatures just to get acknowledged, just to get rhythm going. Like anything under that isn't going to really make governmental difference.
I thought we were doing good at 1,000. When we read that, I was like, ooh, like my heart. I was like, dang, we're only
9,000
off.
Okay, now we get into the fun questions from Buddy Leach.
And this is why you'll see right here why we need the community's support in all of this right now. We need people to stand up.
There needs to be a light shine on the entire panhandle, but especially law enforcement and this prosecutor right here who makes my blood boil with these questions. Buddy Leach says, to the mother of a 16-year-old deceased, beautiful girl, these questions, whose life was taken from this earth way too soon. I'm hoping for answers to the following questions. Why was London not safe at home? What?
Yeah.
What? You got to be freaking kidding me.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to know what even drew that conclusion for him.
Yeah. Or any of these. Like, what is the thought process behind this? Where's this going?
well, teenagers sneak out of the house all the time. I did when I was a teenager.
Me too. And I was a decent teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I'm decent.
I was like an altar boy, like not literally, but I mean, but I snuck out of the house. I had a stick shift car, and me and my friend pushed it half a block down the road so my parents couldn't hear it starting up.
Premeditated right there.
Yep, it was.
I
It
think
totally was.
Yeah, I think most of us have not made the best decisions at 16.
Yeah.
I mean, our brains aren't even fully developed to make.
Not till 25.
Yeah, there's still our right and wrong decision makers still being made. That's why Rochelle writes right there.
Hold on. So Salty Sleuth wants to know who asked these questions. This is the prosecutor that would be in charge of bringing charges against Jose and or Braden Brown associated with London's death. This is the prosecutor, the guy like that was appointed by the governor of the state of Oklahoma for this position.
This is who Agent Beck has to take everything he has to decide whether or not charges are to be made.
This is supposed to be an advocate for victims.
Yeah.
Not a victim blamer and a victim shamer. This is infuriating.
I shake when I read.
Yeah.
I shake when I read these.
Was law enforcement called pursuant to a report that she was a runaway? You don't know the answer to this question? You seriously don't know the answer to this question?
which
I'm
Agent Beck let us know that he reports to Parker
Olmsted,
who is
the
Right.
assistant.
the assistant of Buddy Leach. That's my dog.
If you
Sorry.
can hear a dog barking.
he's objecting also to Buddy Leach's email.
Exactly.
She's really upset.
She is pissed.
What action did law enforcement take to find her? Why don't you know this? How long had she been doing methamphetamine, and what efforts had been taken to get her in treatment? This is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Who supplied her with the methamphetamine that killed her? We have some ideas on that.
Yeah.
I mean, my email before kind of insinuated a possible scenario that came from.
Who left her alone and under what circumstances? We kind of know the answer to that.
See, we were confused if he meant like as far as who left her like alone to go.
I think he's referring to June 7th. I think.
Yeah.
That's what
and that's how we replied to it, was that one. So
Yeah.
I just, with those other questions, I wasn't sure who he was addressing. So
Why was her disappearance not reported earlier? Holy mackerel.
not one
This guy.
question about her death. Not one about the guys. Nothing. I mean, I guess you could ask like some of the other ones, but nothing directed towards what should really be the focus here.
I feel like the worst part is the last snippet that he says at the end.
Yeah, you got to pull up that part. That's the one that
yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
that's the part that makes me want to like.
Oh my gosh, yes. It gets better, everybody. It gets better at the bottom of this.
Mm-hmm.
If you have information, please contact OSBI. Again, not my problem, not my job. It's the OSBI. Oh no. Though I will not be able to share the specifics of the investigation once I've received the prosecutorial what?
Mm-hmm.
Recommendation and staff the matter with OSBI. He talks weird. I would welcome the opportunity to meet with you before any charging decisions are made. Where did that go?
It's right above that and right under the questions.
Oh, right here. Thank you. I skipped right over it. London should have been in the safety of her home, in bed, and drug-free. London should have been in the safety of her home, in bed, and drug-free.
Let me remind you, she left the house around 11 a.m.
Yeah. 11 a.m. And what I get from that is I hear, you should have been a better parent. Sorry, you got what you got.
Hold on. Everybody else didn't get to see that because I didn't share it on stage. There we go.
Or, everything is, his focus is whether she had done meth every single day up until that day she died, whether Lennon had a bad history, whether whatever all this other stuff is before does not pertain to what happened after that. Her life is not measured by her history. That should have nothing to do with how serious you should take her life right now. That's what
the case. Like, he already has a preformed opinion.
Yep.
Just like Hooker PD did.
Yep. Sorry, I'm gonna chill out right now. I'm gonna start getting worked up here.
You need a gummy?
Yeah. I'm starting knee slap. That's how you know.
Not a good one either.
No. Oh man, that should go on a campaign poster for whoever runs against him in the next election.
Yeah. Oh, I plan on being political for the first time in my life. All of a sudden, I am into politics. It makes me I want to have hot tears coming out of my eyes because it just really shook us. Like, I feel like it was more directed towards me and my mom. Like, who's getting in trouble here, us or them? Like, You know, that's what it almost like, why are you, what are like, don't you want to know what happened? Like, not versus, I don't even know how to think right now about that. I got scared. I'm going to know, it terrifies me that that's his response and his outlook about this right now.
Because we have to put all of our faith in him. Eventually, he's the one that makes this decision.
Right. And he's the one that tries it in a court of law. He's the one that's going to stand up before a jury and try and convince a jury that somebody else might have contributed to her death. But no,
I feel like he has to believe that first.
Yep, exactly. But no, it's London's fault. It's whoever's fault.
Even if it was our fault, even if I let her run the streets every single day, which is not true, or police would, or my mom, which, you know, obviously my mom did everything that she could to try to contact the police, or they wouldn't be so irritated by her when you think of it that way. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't be so irritated if my mom just let her run the streets all the time and she wasn't calling them all the time to try to do something like a guardian should. My mom tried, you know, and so I don't know. It's just a lot. My mind's starting to.
Yeah. Do you want me to show your responses to that to him?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
All right.
I think we responded pretty good. I think there's some emotion in some of the responses, but I still think that they were.
It was nicer than she put it nicer than what I was going to say. So, and that was hard for her too, because she was pretty.
We ticked. In fact, you see how I addressed him in the response, not as professionally as I addressed him in the first.
It was hard for both of us. We had to ask ourselves, like, is this okay? Like.
Yeah, I would have a hard time not saying, "Dear Mr. Leach, please check yourself before you wreck yourself."
Yeah, that's how I started it. No,
it's just the victim. There is no room. So, in all seriousness, there is no room for victim shaming and victim blaming. None. Period. End dot. That's just asinine that a prosecutor would put that in an official correspondence about a death investigation.
And I think that's the number one thing I keep hearing about that is that's victim blaming and shaming. That's saying because of this, I don't even know how to put it into words. Like almost like
because she wasn't where we think she should have been, she's dead.
Yeah. And you should have been a better parent. Yeah. I don't know. I just was really shook. I did not expect that response at all. That's at least not to that extent. I at least expected a few questions about the actual.
I'm pretty sure anybody else would have started it off with, I send my condolences to the loss, like something to that, like some kind of empathy, you know what I mean? Like just from one human to another, like.
Yeah. And that should be the primary component of a prosecutor. Like he should want to be an advocate for the victims and their families. And I think I told you this the other day. Trina Kay in the Lori Daybell trials came over and talked with the families all the time on a regular basis. Some of them who had to get up on the stand and testify. And she was always over there giving support, talking with them, just interacting with them like a human being with compassion. And I see none in this.
I feel no compassion there. I
like
feel like his mind's made up, and that's what scares me.
Well, that would have been my first sentence, and it actually was when you agreed to come on for an interview. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
Like that should have been first before anything else out of his mouth. I don't care if he wanted to be like logical and prosecutorial about it and be like, I'm not sure how good of a case we have right now, like reading in between the lines type of thing. But
reading this, like something.
Yes, the very first thing out of his mouth should have been, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Even if his email only said, this is an ongoing investigation and I'm waiting on more information. And that was it. Like, the fact that he decided to follow his emotional self and respond emotionally with those questions is absurd as a law professional.
Mr. Leach, Brittany and I would love to answer some of these questions for you, a lot of which should have been answered by OSBI. Why was London not safe at home? Your answer, London was safe at home. In fact, London lived with my mom and Hooker because we thought it was the safest place on earth. London dealt with some alcohol use when she lived in Ponca City, and it was getting her in trouble in Ponca and at school, so we all worked together with OJA and decided it would be better for her to spend some time in Hooker.
And at first, London was only going to stay for a semester just to try to help her get caught back in school, try to get her away. And then she thrived. I mean, it was rough at first, but her grades started coming up, and Hooker's small. They don't do a lot of that. I mean, it started working for her. And so we sat down and talked, and even London was like, I think this might be the best thing for me to stay right now, Mom. She hated Hooker, but she wanted to change. London wanted help.
And everything was going better until February.
I mean, it wasn't perfect. I mean, but.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we all just want to be a little bit better today than we were yesterday.
Yeah.
And sometimes I fail at that.
Yeah.
I do. Was law enforcement called pursuant to a report she was a runaway? London was called in to Hooker Police Chief Scott Hedrick and reported that she had not returned home on Friday by my mother, Liz Taylor. We were in constant communication with her, and she continued to tell us through texts that she was coming back. My mom then called Hooker Police Chief Scott Hedrick on June 7th in the morning, and he never showed up. So my mom called Texas County Sheriff, and they called. Okay, so my mom called Hooker Police Chief Scott Hedrick on June 7th in the morning. He never showed up. So then she called the Texas County Sheriff, and they called Scott, and then Scott came and took a report. What action did law enforcement take to find her? Until your office called OSBI in on the case, it seemed that law enforcement was not doing anything. They continuously put London and our family down, treating her like just another delinquent in the community, saying things like, I can't wait until this child turns 18 and you act like she is dead already, which when he said that, she had been dead for several days. Also saying he knew the family of Braden Brown and just couldn't see them being involved in something like that. So law enforcement knew the Brown family.
Mm-hmm. He knew because Scott used to be the Beaver County Sheriff, so he knew the grandpa.
And I believe he said he knew Leo.
Yeah, but he did say, I know Mark Wright real well. He doesn't seem like he would be involved in something like this. I just can't see that. Well, you're in the world of crime. You have to count everybody as a suspect. So let's not too much bias and preformed ideas were put into this, I think.
Yeah, in those small rural areas, everybody knows everybody.
Mm-hmm. That's why things like conflict of interest exist, so that preformed biases can't overtake your judgment.
Oh yeah, I was going to tell you that earlier. Is Parker what's his last name? Olmsted is the OSBI agent. He's also assistant DA. That's who that turns into. He's also the one in April. My mom found this out because she's done a lot of of the background stuff. Parker is the one that signed off on Jose's what is that called, parole or whatever, on his thing on April 25th or April of 2025. So just in April, he let him go. And now in June, there's a girl dead that Jose was with.
So was he incarcerated before that and he got let out on parole? Is that what you're saying? And one of the agents involved in the investigation was the one who helped get him released?
The ADA, Parker Olmsted.
Yeah, the ADA assistant. Yeah,
the one
assistant district attorney. Okay.
Yeah, the one that Beck reports to. The one that he sends all this information to. It's the same ADA that signed the papers to release Jose to
be on probation. I said parole. Is that
Interesting.
different?
It depends.
But yeah, my mom found that out, screenshotted it to me the other day, and I just thought, I was like, wow, that's really unsafe feeling. Like, you just let him go, and it's the assistant of the guy that just wrote this email, and they still don't think something's wrong with the fact that a guy that just got away with something 2 months ago, and now a girl, they're still looking the other way. Like, how many? Now, I don't think was this for the shooting, or was this because Jose? If you look at Jose's criminal history, he's been in trouble for a domestic violence with a 15-year-old girl before.
Yeah, I remember seeing that restraining order application.
Yeah. So I'm not really sure how many teenage girls are going to have to be hurt or die for them to put out a report that their community is not in danger, but it's happening. So, and they're looking the other way. And maybe if he had taken Jose serious and he'd been locked up and charged like he was supposed to, London would be alive. Who knows? Like, but I know that letting him go probably wasn't the safest thing.
So, your response to how long had she been doing meth, and what efforts had been taken to get her in treatment? I love this response. London had never used meth before. If you look in Oklahoma, there are 0 treatment rehabs for teenagers dealing with any substance abuse or addiction issues. We know because we tried to get her help for her alcohol use, and there was nowhere to turn.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
A huge problem.
And that I really do.
It's a huge problem that the DA doesn't know that.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say. He doesn't even know there's not programs for teenagers, and it's Oklahoma. Like, you should know that. And that's also something I really want to advocate for London, is that, times are changing. There's drugs out there that are dangerous. There's more drugs available than when we were younger. Mm-hmm. And I'm older. I'm born in the 80s. It was different back then, but this is happening now. Like, and there's kids out there drinking. There's kids out there doing drugs. They need help. And why not stop it before it turns into an issue? I mean, why not nip it in the butt while they're young, before they turn into dependent adults? Like, but unfortunately, they're cutting mental health funds, so I'm kind of advocating for it at a terrible time, but it's not going to stop me.
That is a beautiful thing too. If you can turn tragedy in your personal life into an advocacy of something that of a higher goal, so somebody, one person, if one person can be saved by that, then that's a beautiful thing.
I think I had emailed you the letter that I had written to legislators about the advocating for London's law.
Yeah, so we call it London's law.
Yeah,
and we
haven't sent it yet because we're waiting to find out where this kind of goes first before we get into that and take on a whole nother beast, because we don't want our energies split into two. We want to be able to direct all of our energy where it needs to go when it needs to go there.
I've been calling this campaign kind of justice beyond the drug, because I think a lot of people turn away when it's not fentanyl, but all drugs are dangerous, and her life was still lost by a drug. And so I don't know, like on Facebook, you'll notice I refer to it called justice beyond the drug. That's what I call it.
I think a lot of people turn away the second that they find out, oh, it's just another drug overdose.
It was meth.
It was just meth. It's another
Just
junkie
meth.
out there.
Yeah.
Was just times higher than and then lethal records indicate for other overdoses, but just meth.
Well, that's kind of the direction that email from Buddy Leach took. Like, he went there like almost immediately. How long had she been doing meth exactly? And why wasn't she home safe and bad, drug free?
Yeah, like what a bold assumption.
Who supplied her with the methamphetamine that killed her? Braden Brown and Jose Majares were the last two men with her the morning she ended up dead. And then allegedly Jose allowed Braden to take his dad's red truck and take London with him. We have audio recordings of a Jose telling us that when Braden high-centered the truck, wrecked on that dirt road where London was later found, that he was on a sick one, meaning he was high on a drug trip. Jose also said Braden was hallucinating, saying the police were chasing him on a high-speed chase. Braden himself and his mom even admitted to us through text that he had been drinking with London and that he ate a bunch of the meth himself. So maybe he ate some and she ate some before. Go ahead.
I mean, I feel like most common sense people could put that together.
Like he didn't decide to eat it for entertainment. He ate it because he thought he was being chased by the police and he wanted to get rid of evidence. And he says that, and I mean it goes into that in the next sentence.
Yeah.
Yep. He was on a paranoid sick one.
Mm-hmm.
Before jumping out of the car and running from the scene where he allegedly high-centered the truck because he didn't want to get into trouble for being dumb.
I also want to point out, because you used a really good word just a second ago, paranoid. So Braden is a self-proclaimed paranoid schizophrenic as well. And that came from OSBI. Braden told him that. And OSBI is trying to find out if that was a legal diagnosis or if that's just Braden saying that. But yeah, Braden he told OSBI that he's a paranoid schizophrenic.
Well, swallowing meth isn't going to help that that diagnosis. No.
Regardless, yeah, you probably shouldn't be doing that if you already have mental health issues like that.
Yeah. Who left her alone and under what circumstances? I'm not sure if you're meaning the location where she was later found or about another time, but if you're meaning at the scene of where she was found, then that would be Braden Brown. He was the only one with her, and let me remind you, he was an adult. He is an adult, and he was driving Jose's dad's vehicle that Jose told him to drive, gave him permission to drive. So why was her disappearance not reported earlier? As I stated above, London's disappearance was reported first on Friday the 6th and then again on Saturday the 7th, according to her grandmother, Liz Taylor. We never once thought London would just never come home. We tried to give her the benefit of the doubt that she would return, like she was saying that she would.
It was really hard to write that. I mean, you can see you're getting emotional just reading it. It was extremely hard to write that. But that's the reality. Like, no parent says, I mean, I think my child's going to die today, you know?
Yeah. Like, yeah, I don't really know how to feel about that. Like, there's kids that I see on there that run away and have been gone for 4 weeks and still come home. You know, nobody.
Yeah.
I just feel really like devalued and dehumanized in this whole thing. Like, not me, my daughter's life.
It's yeah, it's hard to fathom that. It's hard to comprehend that.
It's hard to, as her mom, to be made felt like her life's not as important as everybody else's.
It is. It is.
My mom tried. We all tried. London had I work for some amazing people who help support me. Like, they've watched me try. Like, and that's why I think a lot of people who don't know us and her story can be judgmental. But I think that what matters are the people that know me as a mom. They know my mom. They know us, and they know how hard we've all tried. They know London. They know what a great girl she was. And, you know, that's the people I have to rely on, because you're going to have people like this that just assume, you know, that we didn't try.
Your comment saying that London should have been in the safety of her home and drug-free is absolutely true. However, we did everything we could to keep her at home, In fact, her probation officer had just prematurely removed her ankle monitor that she had just a few days before she left on the 5th of June. London had a safe home. London was a 16-year-old teen girl who snuck out and wanted to go hang out with some older, cool boys. But that does not mean that she should have had to die. And London would have been drug-free if adults would not have supplied her with the alcohol that she'd been supplied with, and that we've been reporting to law enforcement for years, and the drugs that ultimately killed her. And more teens could get drug and alcohol-free if Oklahoma had any resources for drug and alcohol treatment rehab for teens. Brittany is a children's counselor, so she was working with her practice to gain insight into avenues for her daughter, and there just were none.
And that's how I'm so sure. And it's hard for me to be vulnerable and say I'm a children's mental health counselor, or worker, professional. And I do this all the time, and it is hard for me to be like, this happened. But I think the reason that I'm kind of good at what I do is because I'm a real mom and I've went through real things with my kids, but at the same time, I knew of all the resources out there. I know of all the inpatient centers and rehabs and stuff for kids. There are not rehabs, programs for kids and stuff. And there is none. Now there is Native American based ones, but you have to be enrolled in a tribe, and we are not. So if you're not enrolled in a tribe, then you can't. But there's none. There is none.
So Brittany even went to a training through her job that was
ODEMSA.
Yeah, so ODEMSA is the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. See, in Oklahoma, they lump mental health and substance abuse because they understand that which came first, the chicken or the egg type of scenario. Mental health can cause substance abuse can cause mental health. They're one and the same. And she went before the state at the ODEMSA training, and she asked for resources for her child, and she was told there that there just is none in Oklahoma.
And they even sound concerned. They were like, unfortunately there is none. Because I was like, who else better to ask than the Oklahoma Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse,
it's leading this training.
Yeah. So.
A few years ago, probably 6 or 7 years ago, I had a cousin that died from a heroin overdose. A young kid, mid-20s, beautiful wife, beautiful child, OD'd on heroin. And I asked the local county sheriff, had a conversation about it. I said, what can be done about this? And he said, pretty much nothing. He's like, it comes up from Mexico, and we're doing the best we can to stop it, but we can't stop it. That's just too overwhelming. Mm-hmm. So how do we keep the kids away from that, away from the heroin, meth, fentanyl, all of the things? Alcohol.
As someone who does do this stuff, to think that I didn't even know where to turn. I can't even imagine other parents. And I was, the judgment that you face as a parent. The first thing people are saying is, you must be a shitty parent. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. That's why she writes stuff. And so
you can say whatever you want to say on my channel.
Bleep me out if you have to. But that's
live.
Yeah. And so I know it's scary to be like, hey, what do I do for my child? I don't know where to go. I don't know how to get help.
I worked in mental health for 11 years, and I got out of mental health because I also have a teenage boy who struggles with his own mental health. And being a mental health professional or mental health worker, anything in mental health, when you are dealing with it at home, for one, it's very overwhelming to work it as a full-time job and then come home to it as a full-time mom. But there's also a huge stigma that if you work in mental health, you should be able to solve your family's problems.
Oh my gosh.
That's not true. And that is why conflict of interest exists, because as a parent or the family of the person struggling, you begin to think with your emotional investment into that person and not your logical education.
Right. Yeah, it becomes Well, it is from the beginning very emotional, and it's hard to put those emotions on the back burner and deal with it clinically.
I left mental health in 2021, and because I needed to have my full ability to focus on my child, and because there was just so many, I wasn't able to get help for him because everywhere I turned to get help for him, it was, well, aren't you a professional? Why are you having these problems? Like, so yeah, as Brittany being the mom of London, those stigmas are real.
And I want to help other moms in that situation.
You'll get the chance.
Yeah.
Once we get justice for London, you will have the chance to do that.
Even if I don't get justice for London, I want to help other moms.
We're going to get justice for London.
Yes.
I'm not taking no for an answer.
Me either.
So I don't know how much time you have, Rochelle. We have that Chat GPT thing we could go through if you guys have more time, if you want to. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to grab my other phone though, so that I can pull it up on my phone and not have to split the screen on here.
I'll give you a second to do that. I dropped the link again for the petition in chat. So if y'all get a chance to check out that petition, give that a look. See. So Rochelle did this really cool thing where she asked Chat GPT about specifics of this case and Oklahoma law. So we're going to look at the answers that AI is giving us on this now, and it's fascinating. I always forget about Chat GPT and AI.
Amazing. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Once this started, we paid for it. We were like, this has all the answers. And like, at first I was kind of worried about like it being legit, like evidence-based, but I'll put in there, cite the scholarly source for this, and it'll be like, I was like, oh, okay, yes, that's what we need, and we able to prove that this is facts. Like, that way they can't just say we Googleized it. Like, I feel like Chat GPT is like a step above Google, like, but legit. So.
And didn't you say that Chat GPT knows London's case now?
Very well.
Yeah. Like it knows exactly what we're talking about. It can be kind of scary, but it's helpful right now. Like,
all right, just let me know when you're ready to start going through this.
I am ready. I've got it pulled up.
All right. Do you want to read the first one, or do you want me to?
I can if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead. You're the one that did the work on this. Absolutely.
I said, if we know for a fact that in Oklahoma, a teenage girl, London Valdez, 16, was with an adult man, Braden Brown, 19, 3 miles outside of Forgan, Oklahoma, on a dirt road, and they were on drugs, methamphetamines to be exact, and she ended up getting left out there by herself and ended up dead because of meth intoxication and being left in the heat, can that man be held responsible in any way? I think there's a typo there. Sorry. It says, yes, in Oklahoma, an adult in that situation could very likely be held criminally responsible under several possible laws, depending on the evidence investigators gather. Here's how it generally would break down. Contributing to the delinquency of a minor, and it gives the statute. It is illegal for an adult to encourage or allow a minor to break the law, which includes using illegal drugs. Even if the death hadn't happened, the adult could still be charged just for being with her and using meth. Number 2, child neglect and child endangerment. It gives the statute. Providing drugs to a minor or placing them in dangerous situations counts as child endangerment. If the minor is harmed or dies as a result, penalties become much more severe. Number 3, distribution of controlled substances to a minor. And it gives the statute. Giving or sharing meth with a minor is a felony with enhanced punishment if it leads to death. Number 4, manslaughter or murder. If prosecutors can prove that the man's actions directly contributed to her death, first-degree murder could be applied, and gives the statute if it was done during the commission of a felony, like drug distribution to a minor is considered a felony. Second-degree murder would be attached if he acted with deprived mind, disregard for human life. And And first-degree manslaughter would be attached if the death occurred while committing a misdemeanor, like contributing to the delinquency. Number 5, failure to render aid, abandonment. If he left her alone in a dangerous condition instead of seeking help, that could strengthen charges of negligence or homicide. Bottom line, yes, the adult men can absolutely be held responsible under Oklahoma law. The exact charge depends on whether prosecutors could prove that he gave her the drugs, failed to protect her, or abandoned her knowing she was in danger. Even without proving direct supply, being with a minor on meth and leaving her in that state is strong legal grounds for charges. I think you're muted.
Yep, I'm muted. Strong legal grounds. Strong legal ground. And yes, this is just Chat GPT. This is not a prosecutor's office. This is not an attorney. It's not legal advice.
It does come straight from the Oklahoma legislator laws, though, like from
Right.
their own websites. It's cited from them.
Right. I mean, it makes sense. Like just thinking about it logically, all of these arguments make sense to me and then make sense to you, but apparently they don't make sense to Buddy Leach. I've got to stop talking about him.
For my mother, so.
Say what?
I just have to say a little thing at the end for my mother, so let me know when we're done.
Okay. How many pages do we have, Michelle?
I'm not hurrying you. I just want to let you know I have to make a.
There is a total of 14 pages here. However, the last 2 pages are just all of the charges broken down, and then the citing page.
Gotcha. And I can read fast too.
There's like 12 pages of these where I actually asked a question and got the answers.
Okay. So we asked ChatGPT, how would we be able to prove that he used the drugs with her or gave them to her? Prosecutors have to connect the Braden's actions to London's drug use and death. In cases like this, investigators usually look for direct and circumstantial evidence, eyewitness testimony, anyone who saw them together before she died, friends, family, or other drug users who may testify he was supplying her or using with her. If he told someone what happened, that can be used. Physical evidence, drug paraphernalia, except guess what? His car wasn't searched until after it was cleaned out. So we're not going to find that. Fingerprints or DNA on drug packaging, belongings tested for drug residue, surveillance. Wonder if he was given a blood test of any kind to see what was in his system that night.
Nope. Nothing.
And they said it would be too late, but we suggested a hair follicle test.
Yeah, because hair follicle test is good for 90 days when it comes to methamphetamines. Yep. We suggested that like maybe 60 days in, because it was maybe even under 60 days, and I don't think they ever did that still.
No.
Oh, man. Toxicology and forensics. If meth was in her system, investigators may compare purity or chemical signature to meth found in his possession. Not going to happen.
Because he ate it.
There was no DUI investigation that night. There was no investigation of the vehicle till after it was cleaned out. If she had drugs or paraphernalia with his fingerprints, that's not going to happen. Phone and digital evidence. I am hopeful about this. Text calls or social media messages arranging drug use, GPS placing them together outside of town. Search histories or messages referencing meth. His own statements, if he talks to police and admits they used together or that he just left her there, that can be evidence. Didn't he say to Jason Johnston when he was either driving him home or before he drove him home that he had a friend back there, referring to where the car was, the truck was stuck?
Yeah.
That's not.
Jason, I guess Jason either put it in his report or told OSBI, because OSBI is the one that further commented on it when we asked him about that Braden was so high he didn't know up from down, so he just thought it was another one of his wild goose chase stories,
like hallucinating, like being chased by agents or whatever. Even partial admissions can be powerful when paired with other facts. Circumstantial evidence, even without catching him handing her the drugs, prosecutors can argue that he was the last adult with her. She was a minor who couldn't legally access meth alone. He left her in a state where she died from meth and exposure. This chain of circumstances can be enough for charges like manslaughter or second-degree murder in Oklahoma. In short, you don't always need a video of him giving her drugs. A combination of her toxicology, her proximity, their communication, drug evidence, and his behavior, leaving her, abandoning her, can build a strong case.
Do you want me to read this next part, or you want to?
Yep.
Okay. So it's how jury instructions in Oklahoma would guide jurors. Key jury instructions in Oklahoma. 1, definition of circumstantial evidence. In Oklahoma, circumstantial evidence is defined as proof or facts or circumstances which gives rise to reasonable inference of other connected facts that tend to show the guilt or innocence of a defendant. What it means, even without a direct eyewitness or confession, evidence such as their behavior, proximity, communication, or physical evidence, when viewed together, can form a legally valid basis for finding guilt. Number 2, weighing direct versus circumstantial evidence. Juries are instructed that there is no distinction in weight between direct and circumstantial evidence. Both can be equally convincing and sufficient if they prove elements that the crime beyond reasonable doubt. All that has to happen is you can convince the jury that beyond reasonable doubt this happened. Why it matters. Prosecutors do not need a smoking gun. A jury can still find guilt based solely on circumstantial evidence if the evidence taken together supports a reasonable chain of inference. Number 3, practical guidance to jurors explained in legal commentary. A legal blog discussing Oklahoma jury practice explains how circumstantial evidence works in trials. For instance, you might infer that it snowed overnight just because there are 2 feet of snow on the ground. You didn't see the snow fall, but the evidence supports the conclusion. The blog emphasizes that circumstantial evidence may carry just as much weight as direct evidence. Application of the scenario. Let's connect that to the situation that you described. An adult man, Braden, and a teenage girl, London, together on meth, and London tragically dies. Circumstantial evidence. Pieces might include: they were found together in a remote area or witnessed in the same area as each other. Meth was in her system. He admits to eating meth in the same time frame to avoid being caught with it. Phone records, text, or GPS places them together before her death. He was the last person seen with her and even left her in a vulnerable state. Possibly incriminating statements or behavior like ignoring her pleas, disposing of evidence, or lying, etc. Taken together, a jury could reasonably infer that he either provided her the drugs, participated in using them, or at minimum was negligent, depending on the evidence that could support charges like delivery of controlled substances to a minor, child endangerment, or even manslaughter and murder, if the death is directly tied to his conduct. If Braden and London were in Jose's car, that's the next part. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm good with that. So let's talk a little bit about the investigation by the OSBI. So you told me earlier, Brittany, that you took Jose to the Hooker police station to have a little interview session with Scott Hedrick.
Mm-hmm.
And that was on the 11th before she was found on the 12th.
Yeah.
What about Special Agent Ryan Beck? Has he interviewed them in an official interview setting?
No, he told me at when I talked to him like 3-4 weeks ago, he had told me that they'd only talked to them, that he'd only interviewed them once in his car. Because we said, why haven't they been pulled in any interrogation room? He said, this isn't TV. That's not how it really works. He said, I did talk to them in my car.
That is how it works.
Yeah. And this was the day, on the 13th, the night after they were found, and they haven't been talked to since.
That is how it works. I mean, that's like one of my jams is on YouTube. I watch interrogation and interview videos all the time, and that is how it works. You bring in a person of interest. It doesn't have to be a suspect. Person of interest or a suspect in a room with 2 agents, and they read technique the crap out of them. Like, that's how it works. That's not from TV. That's from real life interrogation and interview videos. Like, Jerry Holman did that to Richard Allen in Delphi, except it was just him. It wasn't two officers. It was just him and Richard in a room alone together. But still, that is how it works. That's it's not just on TV. It's like police interview techniques. That's why it's called the Reed technique. That's why they take classes on it. Sorry, tangent there. I'm baffled. I'm baffled by the fact that an OSBI special agent would say that's not how it works. This isn't TV. That just
the other thing that was
mind-blowing.
weird about it is Braden felt comfortable enough to be on his phone texting people that he was talking to OSBI because they screenshotted it and showed it to me. Why he was sitting there talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume
He
this
was
is
allowed to
probably
be
like,
on his phone texting people while he's being hardly interrogated about my daughter's death.
and I assume it was probably like outside of his house or something like
Yeah,
that.
his vehicle.
It was in the agent's car.
Well, I bet they don't have cameras.
Oh yeah, we talked about that the other day too. No body worn cams, no dash cams, no audio recording, nothing. It's just OSBI verbal interview and then making a report from that verbal interview. Is that correct?
And we're not sure if OSBI carries body cams, but we do know we were told that Beaver County, Texas County, and all the little counties do not. They said it's not in their budget to have dash cams in their vehicles or body cams on them.
And I told you I got my body cam off of Amazon, and it's the exact same one that a lot of police departments use for $150.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's crazy. $150 is out of your budget, and probably need to spend like $25 on an SD card to slide in there so you can record like 8 hours at a time, whatever. But still, that's even Canton police in Massachusetts, they're associated with the Karen Reed trial. They don't have body worn cams, and it's just mind blowing to me.
Especially with all the allegations that the police departments face. So why, if you know the police are subject to being alleged against, you would think that that $150 per officer would be really necessary.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's for not just for the protection of the public, but also of the law enforcement agency. Mm-hmm. All right. If Braden and London were in Jose's car when she ended up 3 miles outside of town, where she later died, and Jose is the one that picked London up from her home 2 days prior and never took her back, can Jose also be charged in this case in Oklahoma? ChatGPT says yes. Jose could also face very serious charges in Oklahoma for his role, even if he wasn't the one physically with her when she died. The law doesn't just look at who was there at the moment of death. It looks at the entire chain of conduct that placed London in danger. Here's how Oklahoma law could apply to Jose: unlawful harboring or concealment of a minor. If Jose picked up a 16-year-old runaway and kept her for 2 days without returning her home or contacting her parents' authorities, that is considered harboring. So here's a question for Brittany. So she kept texting, I'm coming home, I'm coming home, I'm coming home. Do you think maybe that's what Jose was feeding her? Okay, I'll take you home after such and such. I'll take you home after such and such. I'll take you home after such and such. Or was it her just stringing you along?
And, I'm not going to sit there and say, like, I'm sure she thought she was going to go home. I'm sure he told her she would take him home. But I asked Jose, she said no, she didn't want to go home. I said, you let a 16-year-old tell you, you're 20 and you let a 16-year-old tell you that she didn't want to go home, so you just kept partying with her? Well, she told me no. I said, so she
what
forced
was I supposed to do?
Yeah, what was I said, so she forced you? He said no. I said, so she held a gun to you and said, you are not allowed to take me home. And he was like, well, no. I said, so you made the choice. I said, not only did you make the choice, but you left and then came back and got her at other places again. Like, you know what you were doing. I said, and even if you didn't, you could have went back to the house and told my parents, hey, sorry, I know I messed up, but she's not coming home. You could have went to the police and been like, hey, she's not coming home. But instead you didn't want to get in trouble, or you were having a good time from the sounds of it and made that choice consciously. Like, there were several things he could have done. Even if I was 20 and I picked, which this would never have happened, but if I was 20 and I picked up a 16-year-old and I knew that her parents were looking for her and she was a runaway, I don't think I would, or it wouldn't have happened, but I don't think I would definitely not take her home and just keep partying with her or him or whoever.
No, 2 days is a long, long time in the life of a teenager. That's like forever. Oklahoma law makes it illegal to knowingly shelter or conceal a runaway, especially when the adult doesn't notify law enforcement or guardians. Child endangerment. Keeping a minor away from safety while exposing them to drugs or unsafe adults counts as endangerment. Even if he didn't give her the drugs, his failure to protect her and his decision to keep her from home can amount to criminal child neglect, contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Thank you. That's one of my favorites. If she used meth or engaged in any other unlawful activity, consuming alcohol would be one of those, while with him, prosecutors could argue his actions encouraged or allowed that behavior. Oklahoma law says anyone who aids, abets, or encourages a crime can be punished the same as the principal offender. So if Braden was the principal offender and Jose aided that, then he could be held liable the same. If prosecutors can show Jose knowingly put her in the situation where Braden supplied drugs or left her to die, Jose could be charged as an accomplice. Homicide liability, manslaughter, murder. Even though Jose wasn't physically there when she died, prosecutors might argue by taking her from her home and keeping her away for 2 days, he set in motion the chain of events that led to her death. That could support a first-degree manslaughter charge if the death occurred during the commission of an unlawful act, like harboring a runaway, drug use, or endangerment. In some cases, prosecutors have even pursued second-degree murder if the conduct shows a depraved indifference to human life. Bottom line. ChatGPT says, yes, Jose can absolutely be charged. Are you listening, Buddy Leach?
Yeah, according to their own law.
Why aren't you accessing your ChatGPT, buddy?
Right.
I don't think if he can't spell prosecuting instead of prosecution, I don't think he can use ChatGPT. I think there's a law against that. His liability doesn't vanish just because Braden was physically present at the time of death. At minimum, harboring a runaway, child endangerment, contributing to the delinquency. At maximum, manslaughter or murder if the state proves his actions directly set up the circumstances of her death.
Yeah, and that doesn't even touch the fact that don't forget that they went to my mom's house before anything on that Sunday looking for London. And my mom brought up a really good point. Jose was asking specifically for $5,000 to fix his dad's car. That's a pretty specific number.
Yeah.
Now I have a pretty good idea, and it's not my idea of why he wanted it specifically $5,000, and that's because I think that's how much. This is all my what is it called? Speculation. That I think that's how much drugs that they had, and he needed that money to either pay back the dealer or he wanted the money. And I think that maybe he was looking for London because Braden had told him that London took off with all of it, if even that. And then they lied to the police about where London was last seen because they were afraid of getting in trouble. And Jose told me that themselves because they thought she was going to come back. I think Jose did think she was going to come back. And I think that maybe Braden messed with his head too, but they both knew something was wrong and they lied. And that caused her to lay out there for 5 days and at the same time, a lot of evidence to disappear. And they're not even questioning that. Like, to me, that's really strange. Oh, okay. Thought we froze. No, just the $5,000 specifically. And they've never went and talked to my mom or my stepdad. And that's where it all started. So it's just not a lot of questioning, I feel like, has been put in there, or like the people that need to be questioned. There's not been a lot of, just from what I can tell, a lot of effort besides we're pinging the phones. Like, I need a little bit more than that at this point. It's not
right.
Not the phone.
Right.
You know, you see on the same things that you watch, like with the interviews and the interrogations, you see the amount of people that they track down and talk to about this person's life. Like, you know, wow. Number one, they should have been at Liz's house asking her, you know, what happened leading up to this event. Like, you know, when Braden and them showed up, what happened? Like, the OSBI hasn't asked Liz anything in regards to it.
And she's put down her statement what happened. Like,
Yeah.
that she called the police. They didn't know. And Jose was sitting there demanding that London come out and pay her this $5,000 for his truck, and give him back his red hoodie. My mom called the police because she saw Braden sitting in the car, and she said he looked like he was going to throw up. And she just was like, something's weird. So she called the police. They didn't know that they were going to show up that night. It was Robbie and Scott. And Robbie's a police officer in Hooker. And then that's when they questioned the guys. So, I mean, it threw them off. And then that's when they lied about where London was last seen. That's where that very first flyer that came out, that London was last seen in the Guyman pool came from, with a Mexican guy. Yeah, and Liberal. Oh, yeah, Guyman. Yeah, Liberal pool, sorry. And so, I mean, it started a whole wild goose chase, which resulted in her laying there. Like, is that not obstruction? Like, you know, of an investigation?
Well, it's at the very least, it's filing a false report.
Yeah, and there's nothing yet. The only thing I can say is, they still, if they're listening, and I know that Jose is probably watching this, is that you should be worried that they haven't closed it yet. That's what you can be worried about. If they didn't close it, there's a reason they haven't closed it. So
Right.
They don't need to think they got away with too much yet.
Okay, are we ready for the next page?
Yep. So I said, does it look bad on Jose if London and Braden were using Jose's car when they got 3 miles out of town where she was left and later found dead? It says, yes, the fact that Braden and London were in Jose's car when she ended up 3 miles out of town and later died makes the situation look much worse for Jose. Here's why it matters legally in Oklahoma. So, connection to the scene of death. If his car was used to transport her to the place where she was abandoned, it ties him directly to the chain of events leading to her death. Even if he wasn't physically present, prosecutors can argue he provided the means for her to be taken out there. 2, knowledge and permissions. If he gave Braden permission to use his car with London, it can be seen as facilitating her being taken out of town while on drugs. If he knew drugs were being used in his car, it strengthens a child endangerment or contributing to a delinquency case. If he didn't give permission, prosecutors could then argue that he was negligent in controlling who had access to his vehicle, though that's weaker unless they can prove that he knew about it. Number 3, evidence inside the car. Drugs, paraphernalia, fingerprints, or meth residue are found in the car. That's physical evidence linking him to the drug activity with her. Except the guys washed and cleaned out the car and cleaned out all of the evidence and showed Hooker Police Department that they did it and should be in trouble for destroying evidence. Even if he wasn't the one using, prosecutors can say he allowed his car to be in a place for an underage girl to use meth. Number 4, accomplice or aiding liability. Oklahoma law makes aiders and abettors equally guilty if they procure, advise, encourage, or assist in a crime. Allowing his car to be used could be seen as assisting in the acts that led to her death, especially since he had already picked her up from home and did not return her. How it looks to a jury. To a jury, it paints a picture that Jose took a teenage girl from her home, never returned her, allowed her to be in a drug environment, provided the very vehicle that got her stranded and left to die. That narrative is very powerful. Even if Jose didn't personally hand her meth, The pattern of choices shows disregard for her safety, which can support charges like child endangerment, manslaughter, or accomplice liability for murder. Bottom line, yes, it looks very bad for Jose. His car being the vehicle that used to makes him even more tied to the chain of events. And prosecutors in Oklahoma could absolutely use that to argue his shared responsibility for her death.
I want to see these interviews.
Man.
I want to know what they said in the interviews. Like, did he say, yeah, we went and picked up my dad's SUV, you know, and I let Braden and London take off in my dad's SUV? Because if he didn't admit that in an interview, it's going to be hard to prove it because Jason Johnston didn't go do a DUI investigation.
Yeah.
And we haven't, so we've heard a little bit from Jose, but have we heard anything from Braden at all in this?
Brittany has heard from Braden and Braden's mom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Well, that's where I get such conflicting information is because Jose saying it's Braden, Braden's saying it's Jose at this point. Like, you know, so one of them's lying.
Right.
Braden's saying they never went to Guyman. Jose's saying they did go to Guyman. But I feel like if I have to be completely honest, I'd say that I'd probably take Jose's word over anybody's if I take anybody's word, because Braden's definitely going to lie right now.
Well, we got Jody saying that she was on the phone with him the whole time, but we have Jose saying he called her, or that Braden called him at some point during the same thing. So was he on the phone with Jody and Jose at the same time, or just one or the other?
Or I think he was on the phone with his mom.
Yeah, but he got that call.
Hold on, up until they wrecked or whatever. And then I think that after they wrecked, Braden called Jose on Snapchat. But Jody's saying she was up on the phone. She was on the phone with Braden up until they wrecked, and that Braden thought they were being chased by the cops. So the last thing she heard him say was that he loved London, and he told her that she either needed to stay in the truck or that she needed to run and hide and then come back to the truck. And that he took off and took his own bag of meth because he was afraid of getting in trouble for being dumb. And Braden's saying that in the time he was missing for those 2.5 hours, he was laying in a field trying not to go to sleep because he was afraid he wasn't going to wake up. But London, no, he didn't give her any. Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like it makes total sense that like, and the fact that acute meth toxicity comes in there, which the acute is a very key word because it explains that a large amount was taken in a short amount of time. Like more was taken than her body could, process at that amount of time. Even if how he was with her for hours, like, you know what I mean? Like he still would have had been the one that was with her doing it. And even, I don't know if they're wanting hard proof evidence or like what, like I'm trying to trust the process, but even if he was sitting there doing that much meth with it, say it was London 16 and somehow had enough money to buy that much meth, which she didn't, I promise. Like, that means a 19-year-old had to been sitting there with a 16-year-old smoking up a whole bunch of meth. That's still not okay. Who says that's okay? I've seen people get in trouble for providing minors with alcohol at a party. Like,
right. And how long does it take to get, once you ingest it, say worst case scenario, he's like, we need to swallow this stuff real quick so we don't get in trouble. He's hallucinating. He thinks he's being chased. I'll swallow this much. You swallow that much. How long does it take to get to the liver, to be in that type of, that level? Because it obviously was the result of her death. So it was a huge amount.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that depends. And the things that depends on were destroyed because the guys lied. And it took 5 days for them to find her because different things like, was she drinking before she swallowed that meth would make it absorb faster and go straight to her liver through the alcohol. So, which is a 99.9% chance if we're all being honest.
Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't test for alcohol because it had been 5 days. Did she use other substances, which they couldn't find because it had been 5 days? So all of that is very dependent on that other information that we don't have.
Mm-hmm.
The number one being alcohol, because methamphetamine absorbs in liquid very quickly, and your body processes alcohol pretty freaking quickly, especially when your heart is pumping at 100 times faster than it normally is.
Yeah. And that's another thing, like with the phone and the bag go together. So for some reason, London didn't have her phone she had a red Hogwarts backpack. And that wasn't with her, but it was said to have been turned in later, and that it was by Jose's mom, turned in a week later. And because they found it in her car.
Which, by the way, wasn't the car they wrecked.
Which was it that's the black Nissan. And so when I asked them about it, Braden says, well, we looked everywhere for it and we couldn't find it. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, my 16-year-old daughter is not about to leave without her cell phone. She is not about to leave without her cell phone. And you're telling me you couldn't find a red backpack and a cell phone in a really small black four-door car conveniently? He even made the comment, and it's crazy because you can call 911 even if you don't have cell service. He made that comment after, to me. It's like he knew she didn't have her phone. So, I mean, and London definitely wasn't about to drive to Guyman and then go home without her phone. No 16, she's not going to leave. No, we need to find my phone. We're going to find, I know. I mean, there's no way. Either that or they came back, and since they had it, they had to have either went back and got it from there because they knew something was wrong. I also have speculation that maybe there was drugs in London's backpack.
That would make sense because she's a juvenile. So if she gets caught,
$5,000 is pretty specific.
Yeah.
So
yes,
I think there was some drugs in that backpack, and they needed that.
Yeah, that's pretty specific. There are a lot of possibilities with this, and none of them are good.
Mm-mm.
None
and
of them are good.
It's just like a week later, and then they're talking about pinging cell phones. Well, if Linda didn't have her cell phone, then how are they going to find out where she was at? It didn't move. They had it.
So does Special Agent Beck have it now, or do we still not know where it is?
He has a phone.
He has a phone. He says it's London's, and he said he has her backpack, but we haven't seen pictures of either of those things to confirm.
So you can't confirm necessarily that it absolutely is London's phone.
Yeah, no, we have no way. And he said conveniently they were all three the same phone that he had. All three the same color, the same kind. And if there was drug stuff going on, maybe it was burner phones. I don't know. Maybe it went their real phones.
Right.
Because, I mean, how coincidence that three of them have the exact same color phone and kind of phone.
Right.
They were all three red iPhones.
I mean, unless there's a red eye store in Beaver.
Right. That's not where London got hers.
Yeah, right. Okay. If Braden was picked up from that area 3 miles outside of Forgan that night by a police officer that knew him prior to these events, and that police officer reported that Braden was heavily under the influence, is that evidence enough that he and London were using drugs together? By itself, it's not automatically enough to prove Braden and London were using drugs together. What it does do is strongly support the case when combined with other evidence. Here's how Oklahoma prosecutors and a jury would likely look at it. What that evidence proves directly, a police officer, credible witness, I'll just pause there for a second, can testify that Braden was intoxicated on meth the same night London was abandoned and in the same place where London was later found deceased. It places him in the exact location where she was left. It shows he was on drugs at the same time she was exposed to meth. What it suggests indirectly is that since she died from methamphetamine intoxication and he was high on meth at the same time in the same place, it strongly suggests joint drug use or shared access. Jurors can reasonably infer that he had meth, he was high, she ended up dead from meth, he likely supplied or shared it with her. Why it's not 100% proof on its own, the defense could argue she got meth somewhere else. Hold on. Defense could argue she got meth elsewhere. He just happened to be using too. She got the meth from somewhere else?
Right.
Okay. Without additional evidence, it leaves a small gap. How prosecutors build on it, that officer's testimony becomes a cornerstone. Oh, no. Do we have to go there? But they'd likely pair it with toxicology, paraphernalia, which they cleaned out Jose's car, or his SUV, his dad's SUV, digital evidence, text calls, social media, timeline evidence. That's what I want to see, is this timeline built by the prosecution, and I don't have the confidence that Buddy Leach can do it.
Right.
Like, I want to do it for him.
I do too. I will do it for him.
The bottom line, the officer's report is very strong circumstantial evidence that Braden and London were using drugs together. On its own, it's not absolute proof, but in the context of her meth-related death, it gives prosecutors a powerful foundation to argue he either used with her or provided the meth that killed her.
And that, do you want me to go to the next one, or do you want to
Yep.
talk about that one first?
No, go ahead.
I said that is what led me to this next part. I said, but if OSBI has already proven through cell phone tower pings that the teen girl and Braden were together at the same time for the duration of 2 days prior, does that help that case? But that they were there. Hold on. Let me start over that. If OSBI has already proven through cell phone tower pings that the teen girl and Braden were together at the time and for the duration of 2 days prior, does that help that case that if they were both high and she ended up dead, then they must have used together at some point? It says, yes, that makes the case against Braden much stronger. Here's why. Cell phone tower pings equal physical presence together. If OSBI has already confirmed through cell phone tower records that London and Braden were together for the entire 2 days prior, it destroys any defense argument that she could have gotten the meth somewhere else, or he just happened to be high on his own. It shows that they were consistently in each other's company right up until the time of her death. Combined with intoxication evidence, we now know she died of meth intoxication. He was heavily intoxicated on meth at the same time, that same night in the same place. They were together for 2 days with no opportunity for her to get meth from somewhere else without his knowledge. A jury can make a very reasonable inference. If both were high and they were the only ones with each other, then they must have used meth together. Why that's powerful for prosecutors. This closes the reasonable doubt gap instead of speculation, the prosecution can argue that exclusive proximity, they were together continuously, parallel drug use, he was on meth, she died from meth, and causation. The only reasonable conclusion is that he supplied, shared, or at least facilitated her meth use. Under Oklahoma law, that's enough to support charges like distribution of a controlled substance to a minor if he provided it, child endangerment if he knowingly let her use it, or first-degree manslaughter or felony murder if the death resulted from that use. Jury view. Jurors don't expect video proof of him handing her the drugs. They are told that circumstantial evidence can be just as convincing as direct evidence in this case. Continuous presence together, both intoxicated. She dies from meth. He survives, but is found high and admits that he ate it to avoid trouble. That paints a clear picture that convinces most juries. Bottom line is, yes, the OSBI cell tower evidence is a game changer. It ties Braden and London together for the entire time frame, making it extremely hard for him to argue that she used drugs from some other source. When combined with his proven intoxication and her meth-related death, it strongly supports the conclusion that they used meth together, and he shares responsibility for her death.
Proving he was high on meth is going to be tough, though. I mean,
he admitted to it. We have in his message to Brittany, he admitted to it. He admitted he was laying in the field high on meth. He ate it before he ran from the car.
Okay.
That's physical evidence. That's not even circumstantial. He admitted it out of his own mouth.
And
if I were his, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. If I were his defense attorney, I would say, well, he was lying to you. That's not testimony.
Well, then,
But
about that. That's a terrible lie.
But then the prosecutor, right? that's one of the dumbest things you could lie about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was high on meth. I admit.
I was at church. That's the lie I would say during.
Yeah. I don't even know who that is.
But if I were the prosecutor, I would call you on the stand and I would enter in those messages into evidence and have you testify to those.
And it's just like kind of dumb because like I think it was just given as an example, but like I really hope they don't take it this route. But he was like, just because it's in my pocket, does that mean that I gave it to you? I was like, if I end up dead a mile down the road, like maybe. I think you might have.
If it's in your pocket, they can test the chemical makeup of it and do the DNA test on her and find out that it's the same meth.
I don't know. It was just kind of like, come on now. I think I think it was just him saying like that because everybody's worked up about there not being an arrest yet, and it's frustrating. It really is. But he keeps telling me, I'm trying to prove hard evidence, and like I feel like it makes a little bit more sense after I got the reply from the DA about why he feels like he's going to have the evidence that he needs for this DA.
Yeah, and the charges are in the end. The charges are up to the DA, not up to the investigating officer. Period. Yeah. And
that's what he kept saying to us when we were on the phone with him Friday is, I'm not the one you guys have to convince. I said, but Beck, you are the one we have to convince. You are the painter. You have to write and paint this picture and convince the DA. Like,
let me say that.
Okay, good. Brittany said that part. Sorry.
I think we should just have ChatGPT convince the prosecutor because this is pretty good stuff. Like it's got me convinced that at the very least there are some charges that they could be being held on right this very minute.
Right this very minute. Exactly. They can be going after murder while they're in jail for harboring a runaway. You know what I mean?
Contributing to the delinquency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, gosh.
Like they admitted that. They have as much as admitted that they contributed to the delinquency of London Valdez on June 5th to June 7th, 2025.
Yeah. And I said they admitted to drinking with her. That doesn't mean they gave it to her.
It doesn't matter. If an adult drinks with a minor, then it's still a crime.
Yeah. So like if I were to go drink with a 15-year-old right now, just because I didn't give it to him, that makes it okay. Pretty sure I'd get in trouble.
Here's one. Here's one from Kresha. Violation of parole.
Yeah, that's another one. Like, there's so many violations of Jose's parole. My mom has a whole list. That's her. She's looks into those backgrounds. And she's brought that up. So many things that he's broken parole on.
Even called his parole officer.
Even called the parole officer. And do you know what she told my mom? Well, it's not illegal to pick her up.
Not illegal to give her a ride.
It's not illegal to give her a ride.
It absolutely can be.
Well, I was like, wait, you better call her back. Yeah.
Brittany got
I was like, we got to tell her about my little situation. You know, the other time that I got in trouble, there's 2 times in my whole life I got in trouble. It was that, and I got in trouble for one time when I was younger. I was 16, and I went and picked up 2 friends from a party because they had been drinking. And I hadn't been drinking. They called me. They wanted a ride. I went and picked them up. We got some girl was mad at us at the time, and she called the police on them. Well, I happened to be driving. They pulled me over, and the girl in the back, one of the girls in the back had a bottle of alcohol in her backpack. I got an MIP even though I wasn't drinking because it was my car. Right. And I was like, wait, I say next time, I'm sorry, I was a good citizen of America. Next time I won't go pick up people who want to not drink and drive. Like, it was crazy. I wasn't drinking. It wasn't mine, but I got in trouble because it was my car and I gave them a ride. And we were all minors. And I called my dad and I didn't tell my mom. That was the only I was scared to tell my mom.
I know how that goes. It was the opposite for me. I would call my mom and not my dad.
I was like, yeah Daddy.
Okay, I think we only have another page or so left on this. What if the OSBI had been given witness information that saw Braden and Jose with London the night before she was left 3 miles outside of Forgan and died, and that witness claims she directly heard Braden and Jose talking about using drugs to put, I'm going to say this out loud on my channel, put bitches to sleep in order to get it in with her. What that witness information means legally, according to ChatGPT, direct link to drugs and sexual content. A statement about that shows criminal intent. It's not just drug use. It points to a planned sexual exploitation of London. Potential charges. If this is proven, this could support first-degree rape if she was incapacitated by drugs, using drugs to facilitate sexual assault, child endangerment, sexual exploitation of a minor, murder or manslaughter if her death resulted from the drugging. Witness testimony does equal direct evidence. Unlike circumstantial cell tower data, this is direct evidence of what was said and planned. Jurors can weigh credibility, but it's powerful when paired with the death and toxicology results. Bottom line, that witness information makes the case against Braden and possibly Jose much stronger, and it suggests the intent to drug and exploit the teen. So this is a difficult topic, but do I remember from somewhere back in the last conversation we had that one of the law enforcement officials said, like from the very beginning, that he didn't believe that there was a sexual element to this, to her death?
Yeah.
That was Agent Beck.
Yeah. He said they look at her like a sister. I said, first of all, Braden, he said, they really care about her. Said, this is Braden's first time ever meeting London. So I highly doubt that he has enough emotion to really care about somebody like that. I was like, and no, they don't look at her like a sister. They looked at her because they liked each other. Well, I don't think that they had a sexual relationship. I was like, I'm going to think that they probably did. Or some type of romantic relationship. Like, it was a thing. I have a picture of Braden and London hugging.
They're not just hugging, they're laying
on
together.
each other.
Yeah. And Braden is the one that sent that to Brittany to prove that he loved her.
That he loved and cared about London.
Yeah.
And they were alone for hours together in Leo's house.
Yeah. And they took pictures together. So, and he talks about how he cared a lot about her and loved her and just, I mean, it's...
And his mom even said in the message, the last thing I heard him say was that he loved London.
Had they met before?
Not from June 5th.
That's what I thought. Like, how...
So you have a 19-year-old with a vulnerable 16-year-old girl. That's probably just older guy likes me. Just, you know what I mean? Like, most irrational people would understand you probably don't fall in love on the first day. But I've been stupid enough to think the same thing. Yeah.
That's crazy. And to have her driven to his house by a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
And then according to Leo, left alone there for several hours together. You're going to tell me there's not that element to it?
Yeah. But
you can determine that before you get the ME report with the swabs. You can determine that before any of that. Yeah.
And I think that Jose and London actually had like a little crush on each other first. So it's all kind of weird. According to Paris. Her sister.
Well, and then maybe like London was over him and he wasn't the happiest about it.
Yeah. Well, and one of the witnesses. I can't say this for, I can't say Braden told me this, but he told someone else, and this was before it even was found out that they were doing meth and stuff. But he told her that first they thought it was Jose after him because London had felt uncomfortable around Jose. And Jose was making London uncomfortable. So they thought he was mad and chasing him. And then he says, then we thought it was the police. So, I mean, I don't know if at that point he's just trying to go ahead and start pinpointing it on Jose. Because, I mean, that was new. I just thought that was weird.
Squeegee wants to know, did the ME explore that? So we did see today in the ME report that they did appropriate swabs, but we did not see any results from those swabs in the ME report. So
she told me that she was not sexually assaulted. And I said, okay, like, did you guys I asked her, did you do a swab? She's like, well, there's no tearing or bruising to show that I said, that doesn't mean they didn't have sex. That just means he didn't like brutally rape her. That doesn't mean like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
That doesn't prove anything.
It probably was consensual if she wanted to go there because she thought he was cute and they got left alone in the apartment together for hours. I mean, very possibly was consensual, but
or even if it was, like the lady said, putting bitches down. I even hate if she wasn't very awake,
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that aspect to it. Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
But the Emmy never, like, she pretty much eluded the question, though. Like, she never really came out and answered Brittany's question about it, whether it was tested.
Yeah.
So I want to see the DNA results of those swabs. Like if there were more contributors than just London. And if I had to put money on something, I would put money on there was. I mean, that's just what teenagers do.
Yeah.
When they get left alone in an apartment for hours.
For 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah, days. Right.
And at Braden's mom's house, like they were there too. They were there from Friday to after they left from Braden's mom's house on Saturday morning. So she knew, they knew. Yeah. They stayed the night at Braden's mom's house Friday night.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They left from Leo's to Braden's mom's. That's where they left in the morning, was to go to Jody's house.
So she let her 20-year-old son bring a 16-year-old home and stay the night.
And he's 19, but
19. And 19 to 16, the 16 is the age of consent in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
But still, she was being kept away from home, and she is staying the night at another boy's house.
Now the witness, I will come out and say that the witness that was there did say that when they brought London in, they introduced London as 18.
Oh.
But that was just for the witness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, of course they're not stupid. Jose knows how old she is. Like, they know.
Yeah. Yeah, Braden and Jose knew. Yes, absolutely.
But either way, it's still not enough to allow you're not supposed to allow 18-year-olds to drink in your house either. It's still underage, but still, I honestly don't, in my opinion, I don't think she would have cared either way. Didn't sound like he cares a whole lot about that kind of stuff.
Right. All right, Rochelle, do you want to read the last page?
Well, so the last page is basically the email that I sent to the DA. So I just clipped parts of the email. So we've really already read that today.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
Time for you. It's really not necessary. It was because the email I formulated from that ChatGPT searches. That's how I got all the information to email the DA.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull up one thing here real quick. Stand by. Walk and talk. Where did it go? Is it in my downloads? Might be in my downloads. It's not in my downloads. Here we go. All right, back to StreamYard. There we go.
Oh, that's one of me and London's. We were in Red River, New Mexico, in that one, and we went down there for a day. I actually went and visit. I went to go down there. I went. By the way, I went to see London regularly, like down there. Like it was extremely difficult for her to go down there. I mourned like I'd already lost her. You can ask everybody. I cried and cried and cried. My coworkers had to hear me cry. Like it was sad. But I went and saw London regularly, at least once a month, if not twice. But this time I went to go see her, and we were just going to go to the Black Mesa. And I was like, let's just go to the mountains today. And of course, London's down. She's like, yeah, let's go. And so we went to Red River for a day and went hiking. And we actually ended up there on the Mardi Gras weekend there. And I'd been going there since I was a kid. And I'd always see the beads and stuff because we always end up there after, like a week after. And I had no idea it was Mardi Gras weekend, but it was so much fun. It wasn't like crazy. Like there was no nudity or anything, but it was just a bunch of people handing out beads and stuff. And so like, we got a whole bunch of beads and it was just really, I'm so glad I got that with her. That last trip, which was only 3 weeks before she died. So it was just still in my mind. I'm like, when it happened, I was like, it can't be. We were just in the mountains. Like, even now, I can't believe it's been 3 months. Like, I'm like, I just saw her like 4 months ago. Like, but we had a lot of fun on that trip. Like, she got poked in the eyeball in that picture. That's why her eyes red.
What a beautiful memory. What a beautiful picture. Thank you for sharing with us. I appreciate that. We did that a lot. We drove around the lake a lot, but we really loved the mountains a lot. So I'm going to share the petition one more time. I'm actually going to pull it up and I'm going to read it and then we can wrap up.
Can I just say something real quick for my mom?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, please do.
My mom is concerned that she wants everybody to know that everybody has played a really big part in London's case. It wasn't just me and Rochelle that's done everything. Her family, my aunt, her sister, and my grandma, and my cousin Candace. They helped put out flyers. I think she's concerned that we feel like we're making it sound like we've done everything, and just want to make sure they have recognition too that there's other people that have helped. Also, I just would, for some reason, this is a concern. Rochelle is not my DNA blood sister, but I call her my sister. But it's important that people know that for some reason. So there we go. That's all I needed to say.
Okay.
For my mom.
Did London call her Aunt Rochelle?
Yes. Rochelle has been there since London was a baby.
Yeah.
Rochelle's helped take London to her first day of school when I went to Guatemala on a missions trip. Like Rochelle stood outside Walmart. Like, and this is stuff we don't talk about. Rochelle stood outside Walmart the other night for hours handing out flyers of petitions for London. So I'm not really understanding, like, whatever, but I feel like not, for some reason, that's important. So
okay, that's on the record. Thank you.
Yeah. But I'm going to call her my sister.
Okay.
I guess. Just on the record, she is not my blood DNA sister.
All right. So speaking of handing out flyers for petitions, it looks like we're up to 11:05 now.
Yes. We went beyond 1,000 now.
Yeah, we
now
did.
We just need 9,800 more. When she read that, I was like, oh, I was so happy. And I still am so grateful for the 1,000. But when she read 10,000, I was like, oh, we left off a 0.
We can get there. We'll keep getting the word out. I mean, when you have Vinny Politan talking about the case on his podcast, I mean, we're getting there. We're getting there. I'm going to read this one more time just for the people who aren't familiar with this petition, and then I'll drop the link in chat. Why we're speaking out. Our family is grieving the tragic death of London Valdez, a 16-year-old minor who died with higher than lethal levels of methamphetamine in her system and was left 3 miles outside of Forgan, Oklahoma on a dirt road, June 7, 2025. We're calling for full accountability under Oklahoma law for any adults whose actions contributed to her death. Specifically, we call law enforcement and the district attorneys in Texas County, Beaver County, and Woodward County to arrest and charge Braden Brown and Jose Manjares with the evidence that shows they furnished or facilitated controlled substances to London or used controlled substances with her knowingly and willingly aided in her state as a runaway, and to pursue all applicable charges under Oklahoma law. Keep in mind, people, under Oklahoma law, and keep in mind that they're innocent until they're proven guilty in a court. But it seems like there could be charges of some kind. We just talked about that a couple minutes ago. We make this request as a grieving family seeking accountability. We understand arrests and charges must be based on evidence and probable cause, and we ask authorities to act accordingly and not victim blame and victim shame, Mr. Buddy Leach. That's not okay.
Yeah, I think that's something that's been the most upsetting for me was that response, because to me it showed he's already created a bias about London and my family, like me, my mom, like whatever, like me and my mom, her home life. But it shouldn't matter. That's not an excuse to determine the worth of someone's life. So you're telling me if it was little Susie, captain of the cheer team, who went out with Chad for the first time and he talked her into taking something, you know what I mean? And she died, that would make it okay? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's not okay.
No, it's the same. Her life is just as valuable as that.
Absolutely is. It absolutely is. And we're going to continue to get the word out about it. And I understand you have an appointment this week to go on. Is it Kansas Missing and Unsolved?
Yes.
That's awesome. I will be there for that. That's the more people that hear about it, the better. I'm down for it.
That'll be Wednesday at 8 p.m.
My friend, my lifelong friend, Felicia McCain, she hooked me up with them. She's from down there. So she's hooking us up with them and trying to help spread the word down there too. So
good deal.
Shout out to her too. Yeah.
Yes.
She's worked.
Awesome.
She worked really hard on trying to get their attention. So.
Well, thank you both for joining me. This has been, holy cow, 3 hours and 22 minutes. Oh my goodness. Thank you both so much. Brittany, stay strong. We're all here for you.
Thank
you. And you too, Rochelle.
Thank you.
And Liz and Tyler also.
And
stay
Paris,
strong.
Paris, her sister. I tried to get her
and
to
Paris.
say hi, but she was not having it. So
That's okay. That's okay. Maybe someday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stay strong. We love you. We support you. And we're here to get justice for London.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
See you soon, my lovely friends. Have a good afternoon. Don't forget to stop back by and see me real soon. Thank you for stopping in. Thanks for saying hi. Together we can make a difference if we try. Thank you for stopping in. Thanks for saying hi. Together we can make a difference if we try. Thank you for stopping in. Thanks for saying hi. Together we can make